Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 367th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Andy Patterson and Ozzy Smith. Welcome to you all on this Sunday evening, where we go live on mixler.com/Boxing Asylum from 8 p.m. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. And shout out to all the time travellers listening to us during the week on YouTube, Soundcloud, iTunes and Spotify as well. Rapping Rob Kelly reminded me last week about the old Spotify. If you're listening over there, welcome to you as well. Let's check in on our panel members, shall we? Check everything's okay. First of all, Ozzy, how you bearing up? How you holding up there, sir?
Yeah, just getting on with it as always. That's all you can do.
Absolutely. What about you, Andy? Been watching any fights this week? What's been catching your interest, taking your eye?
I've been watching a few things, mate. I was struggling today, though, mind you. Mentally, I just had to get up and get out and do something and stuff. So we're back on track. I'm in at work tomorrow, so see how things are going and stuff. Fight-wise, pretty much mix and match, really. You know, wee fights, big fights, area level fights, world title fights, legends, non-legends, and Tony Bellew getting knocked out of Alexander Usyk. So, great times.
Great times indeed. Great times. Now that Adam Smido Smith's jumped on the call. Welcome to you, Smido. How are you? Everything okay over in Smith Towers?
Oh, I'm bored as shit. I'm so bored. I've watched a full replay of England's cricket World Cup final win from last year. I've spent most of the day watching that, so yeah, I'm bored. Very bored.
Smido's so bored he's come on with us on this Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Welcome to everybody in the chat. A few of the regular names are hanging about there already. Carl the Contradiction Frotch, MB, Eggy Phil, Kaiser Cobra throwing in a question. Hey?
But you missed the main one, though.
What's that?
Evening, Eddie.
He's not in the chat though, is he?
He's in the chat, but he'll be listening. He's
He's not in the chat.
Evening, Edward.
He's not in the chat with the thousands of others like Take Ames, Matt Russell. No sign of Chukwu yet. We'll give you a shout out if Chukwu appears. No sign of the Guru either, Andy. The Tommy Allen is supposed to be coming on tonight, head of the pod. Naturally, putting out his new podcast just before we started, as you do. Our glorious leader.
Yes, our dear leader, El Führer, El Guru. I was going to say, did you not see the message he's posted in the chat there with that bottle of whiskey that he's drinking? Lafroy, one thing's not on the fucking podcast, man. The guy will be dying at the minute drinking that. That's TCP.
Joseph a JOTCP.
Aye, THC, TCP.
Yes, so first thing I was going to ask, thing I was going to mention actually, Ozzy, I'll go to you on this one. Up until this point, I've been a little bit ambiguous towards boxing in front of no fans. I haven't got any strong opinion either way, you know, boxing in a studio with nobody in the crowd. I hadn't really thought about it, but today my son was watching the wrestling, you know, the Super Slam or the Royal Rumble, whatever the hell it was from last night. He asked me to download it for him. And I was making a cup of tea, looked in on the through the kitchen window there, having a look, see what he was up to, and I noticed them wrestling. There was a couple of girls wrestling, and you could hear things echoing about the place, and they were jumping on top of each other, and it just seemed like a really sad, lonely spectacle. A bit like sparring in front of nobody, and it made me think, we don't want this. We don't want boxing in front of no fans. This wrestling has changed my mind, Ozzy. I'm not a fan of this at all.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think from experience, when you've been to shows and you're getting early, you know, if you're working for the media and things like that, and you're covering lads on at 4:30, 5 o'clock, there's no fucker in the arena then, and it's pretty boring because there's just simply no atmosphere. So, I mean, whilst it'd be good from a TV perspective, yeah, you'll see the sport return. Will it be the same? Probably not, because I think the crowd can make a huge difference, not only for the fighters but for spectators as well. I've seen the bits of the wrestling, and it amuses me that, you know, they still go through all, you know, like everything on the mic and stuff, and you've got like just a couple of people, employees, sat down ringside, and that's about it. So for me, I think people who are considering it, I think they should look at that and probably knock it on the head. But it just doesn't work for me at all. In my opinion, I'd rather wait and get the proper product rather than trying to rush it back just to get something on TV. Now I know Eddie Hearn's been talking quite actively that they've sounded out a studio, and they're hoping to get that in towards the back end of June, early July, which is quite interesting because it seems like they're well down the line in terms of getting that sorted out. And he's doing that so he can get fighters active and get them fighting again. However, the level of fights that he did talk about were like the Tasha Jonas against Terry Harper. The
non-big fights, not the non-big pain fights. That's what we spoke about last week, remember?
But I tell you what, though, that is what you're getting on Sky on Saturday fight nights at the moment. However, what he did say is that Lewis Ritson, for example, that they're not going to do that because the crowd is excellent and it can, it makes the show, for example. Be like putting Josh Warrington in there, with, like not getting the atmosphere from Leeds. It just wouldn't make sense. So I can see why, from a perspective of getting fighters fighting again, because it means they get paid. But overall, as a fan, would I want to watch it with no one there for a good couple of hours? It's not for me.
See, you just know with that wrestling situation, sorry Steve, just like I briefly touched on it, but see that Vinnie Mac, Vincent McMahon, that's the kind of thing he would do in that. He's just absolutely nuts, big Donald Trump kind of supporter, and he's that same mindset as well. The show will go on, and he'll be consequences. He is an absolute banger, that man as well.
I'm going the opposite. To me, unless it's, I wouldn't want to watch boxing without a crowd all the time. Don't get me wrong, but to be honest, if I'm sat in my living room, as long as my picture is in crisp HD, I don't give a fuck if there's a crowd there or not. To be honest, at these times, as I said, when this virus first broke,
you've got horse racing coming back up shortly.
Horse racing's no won't be coming back for any time soon. No.
Was there supposed to get uplifted a couple of weeks ago?
Starts at the end of April.
No
chance. Because similar to boxing, there is a reliance on emergency service staff to be on site.
Same for boxing then.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, same for boxing. So no, what I'm saying is, and I said a few weeks ago, and obviously a lot's happened since then, and it's changing every day. Is I think there's an opportunity for boxing because it doesn't involve teams. It does as in multiple players per team. You could have some boxing on behind closed doors with only 6 or 8 competitors, and they're with their respective people that they need in the corner. I think there's an opportunity because whatever is first back in terms of live sport, if they put live fucking Tiddlywinks on tonight, people would watch it. There was a virtual Grand National yesterday on ITV, watched by over 4 million people at 5 p.m. in the afternoon.
You've been watching the WBSS shit?
There's people been watching that, yeah. There's people been watching that. But my point being is, I think there is an opportunity for boxing, or any sport. I think there's an opportunity for darts because you don't need medical teams on to be present for that, or whatever it may be. But most sports, to differing extents, do need medical provision. Football does. Football have ambulances on site. I just think there's an opportunity for any live sport at the moment because it's absolutely crying out for it. And Sky, that are going to be losing subscribers and people pausing their Sky Sports subscription, etc., etc., they're going to be hot for it as well. And whether that be
go on, Ozzy, did you want to add something in, sorry?
I was just going to say, you mentioned about darts not needing the ambulances. Well, not if Big Andy Fordham returns to the stage. Didn't he have a heart attack? It's too warm on stage or something like that. So
yeah, that's right.
So we all know that if that happens. But no, I'm not sure though. They already mentioned that apparently. So when there's a show on in the respective area, say Sheffield, they naturally have emergency services signed to the fights, and then from there they designate, say 2 or 3 beds. So if there is an injury, the boxer gets rushed in and they bed immediately. Yeah. They said they can't even guarantee that at the moment. So I don't see how it will go on behind closed doors because those beds are an absolute necessity. Because it would just be typical, wouldn't it, that a freak injury happens, they rush them off to hospital, and then there's no bed. Yeah. And then you're thinking, is it really worth it for the sake of a couple of months? I mean, it's difficult to see where it's going to go at the moment, but I mean, look, from a boxing perspective, I think for a couple of months it could well be okay. Particularly if you can start introducing the smaller shows. So say, like a York Hall, like essentially your leisure centre type of things, from where your audiences are capped at 1,500, 2,000, get a bit of an atmosphere, and then take it from there. But I don't think we'll see stadium shows until potentially December or even next year.
Andy, do you want to give us your usual rundown of what you've been watching this week? I know it's been a bit of a struggle today, but you were mentioning a bit of Rocky Juarez even in the chat earlier. There's a name from the past.
Yeah, I'm watching the Antonio Diaz fight on at the minute. I was just, as I was saying to you guys and stuff, I think not really a fighter that gets mentioned a lot these days. He fought a hell of a lot of big name fighters. Name fighters, not even Zahir Rahman. Rahim. I think he got beat off Humberto Soto. He fought Chris John twice. Jorge Linares. Vincent Escobedo, I'm sure, as well. And this is a guy who actually went to, I think he was a silver medalist going to the Olympics, and that really good amateur back in his day as well. So just, what else have I been watching? Bellew Music, as I said. Really kind of interesting to listen to that one back, actually, especially with the kind of delusional comments we're getting on the commentary of David Hay and Carol Froch, Adam Smith with his bomber comment as well. Manchester will never forget, and Paulie Malignaggi, the only one kind of keeping it real basically, and obviously we've got the chilling knockout. I watched the card, the Cotto Margarito rematch. You got me, Steve? When you go, mate?
Thanks very much, Andy. Yep, delighted to welcome our first guest of the evening on the call. It's Martin J. Ward. How are you, Martin?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you guys? You alright?
Not too bad at all. We're just ticking over. More to the point, how are you ticking over?
Good. I'm trying my best at home, getting my gym working, from home workouts and hitting the road for my long runs. But getting by.
I know. What about mentally? How do you deal with the break, not knowing when and where you'll next be fighting?
Yeah, it can be tough, but everybody's in the same sort of boat, so you just got to stay positive and do as much as you can, really, and just stay positive, really, about the whole situation, and stay home, basically.
Yeah. Do you have much contact with the promoters, managers, and stuff? What are they saying to you?
They're basically saying that just try to stay in as good a shape as possible for the time being. Hopefully, we'll be back with boxing in June, end of sort of June sort of time. But as long as you stay in decent shape, when you get a call, you're not too far out, so you can start full on sparring and stuff once you're back in the gym, and you can hit the training hard. And I've been staying in an overall good condition, and my fitness is good. I'm banging out long runs, so overall I'm doing okay.
And what about diet-wise? What are you sticking to, sort of food-wise?
It's tough diet, especially in this lockdown. It's really tough, but I've been half dropping out breakfast, having lunch and training, and obviously having a bit of dinner at night time. But it is tough. It's tough. It's a killer at the minute. But I think I'm settling down and I'm cracking out at the minute. But last week I was slacking a bit, so I had to put my finger out.
Absolutely. We were talking there about a couple of the guys who mentioned in the wrestling from last night. They obviously took place with no crowd and that. I mean, it has been mentioned for boxing, fighting behind closed doors and all that. What's your opinion on that going forward?
Well, I think if it's the safest option and the quickest option of us getting back to work, then so be it. I think as long as, obviously, past all the medicals and all the doctors are ringside, I think I'll give it a green light, definitely. I'll be happy to fight in behind closed doors. I'm sure all the boys from the gym would as well, as long as you're getting back to work, and that's what we do. We love fighting, so we'd all just, the sooner it comes back, the better we'll all be in.
Yeah, and talking about boxing behind closed doors, who are some of the better guys you've sparred with over the years?
Over the years, I've sparred a lot of good fighters. I've sparred a lot of great fighters, to be honest. I wouldn't really. I'd say the sparring that I've got at the minute with Joe Cordino in the gym, you can't really get much better than that, to be honest. And Ricky Burns. We all mix it up with some of the heavy guys as well, Conor Ben and that. But me and Joe Cordino is great sparring at the minute, and we always get good guys coming in for sparring and that. But plenty of world-class sparring throughout the years. Kevin Mitchell, learned a lot of Kevin throughout the years. I was coming from like the amateurs, even like back in the day. I was still training with Tony, but I was mixing it with all top pros and stuff, and it gives you the experience that you need for days like today, for now, for the big fight nights, and it's a great experience.
Yeah, I imagine the experience is excellent to learn off someone like a Ricky Burns who's been there and done it for so long.
Ricky, I first sparred Ricky when he was with Billy Nelson up in Scotland, and Eddie had said to Tony, "Have you got anybody to go up there to spar him?" And they flew me up there for, I think it was about a week sparring, first week sparring with him. And then the week after, they wanted me to come back, and I ended up doing like a few 4 weeks up there for a few different camps. I think one was the Gonzalez, the Cuban guy, a real tricky guy. Yeah. And then the next was like Terence Crawford, like some big fights he was getting ready for, and I was helping her out getting ready, and then I actually got on the undercard of the Terence Crawford one. So it was great. It was great experience, and like mentally building yourself up to I was up there by myself, like stayed in a hotel and that, and mentally building yourself up each day to be sparring a world champion and having great spars. So I come out the back end of it a lot better fighter from all the experience.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. And so before the lockdown, where were you at career-wise? I mean, what were the plans, ambitions, obviously, before this lockdown?
Before the lockdown, it was I boxed February 8th in Sheffield on the undercard of Kelbrook. I beat a good Mexican guy over 10 rounds, put in a decent performance. But it's to be honest, it's getting myself in place for a world title shot this year. So we was waiting on the WBA champ to defend his title, which would have been this month.
Yeah.
And it's been postponed, but hopefully we can get in line for a title shot sometime this year when we get back in action.
Yeah, one of the guys was mentioning there, Rene Alvarado. That's the guy you mentioned.
That's the guy. Yeah, that's the guy I want. He was defending his title this end of this month. So being all went well with him, we're going to try get a shot at his title. So yeah, we'll see how it goes now when we get back. When we get back in the gym and back boxing. But 2020, I want a shot at world title, and I think I deserve one. And I think I definitely won't be letting the opportunity slip from my hands. I'll be taking it home when we want to get my opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Just remind our listeners, Martin J. Ward is on the call. Any social media presences you want to make known? Twitter or?
What's that? Oh, sorry. I thought you started. My Twitter is Martin J. Ward 1, and also my Instagram is at Martin J. Ward 1. And obviously I'm on Facebook as well, Martin J. Ward. But on my Instagram I'll be showing some home, some training sessions I've been in from home, and the gym I've been using my brother Bobby's gym. He's got it next door to us. It's a right good little gym he's built in our home next door. So I've been doing my boxing sessions in there, and yeah, just been adjusting to life on lockdown really, but get my training in, get my long runs in, and trying to keep the ball rolling.
One of the guys was mentioning there, Martin, obviously you won the British, there was Commonwealth, European thrown in as well. You've gone the traditional route, the old school route. Has that helped you, do you think?
Yes, well, I've got the experience. I'm 28, but I've been a pro a long time. I've turned pro when I was 21 years of age, and I think I've definitely gained a lot of good experience from going them rounds. Obviously the British title, and in my defences with winning the British title, I had a lot of tricky opponents. Like I think Max Hughes was southpaw, Ronnie Clark was 3 southpaws to win it outright, and I beat the 3 of them, thank God, and won the title outright. And that was a great little year for me, winning the British title and winning it outright, and then moving on to the European from that. You know, I built a lot of character in me, and I put it all together following the Kakachi win, fight for the European title and knocking the guy out, and straight on winning that. So it was all flowing lovely.
Just mentioning a couple of the fights here before we let you go, Martin. Anthony Kakachi's obviously bounced back to beat Sam Bowen for the British title. What was it like fighting Anthony? What did he do well?
He was a good fighter. The fight wasn't the best fight, to be honest. I'd say myself I was involved in it, but it wasn't the best fight. A lot of tit for tat, and he was very negative, and he was trying to nick my belt, and obviously I wasn't having it. So I was trying to beat him at his own game, and I was just a bit too sharp for him, to be honest. So I was being a bit clever in the latter stages towards the round, doing my work, and just using my experience, and got me through it. He was good. He's a good fighter. He was unbeaten at the time. I took his all from him, but he's come back and he's gone on and won the British title. And I wish the lad all the best.
In 2018, you fought somebody who I know very well, James Tennyson. Didn't go for you that night, unfortunately.
No, I got beat by James Tennyson, the Batman on the right. It was a big learning curve for me, that fight. It's turned me around, to be honest. I've changed a lot of things since that fight, but a massive learning experience for me. I know I didn't come away with a win, but I've come out a better fighter from it.
Yeah, and I'm going to say later in 2018, you obviously went over to Italy and beat Davis Boschiero, who's a very experienced fighter.
That's right. Yeah, I went over to Italy. Funny enough, I got a call. I was my comeback fight from the Tennyson fight. I boxed in the copper box and the undercard. John Ryder, a Russian guy. I think he was a fight eliminator for the world title for John. Mm-hmm. And I think I done either a 6 or 8 round. I ended up stopping the guy in the first or second round. And a couple of days later, Tony got a message from Tony, and Tony called us up and said, "Just stay in shape." He said, "There might be a fight in Italy for you. Have a look at this guy." Sent me Boschiero. He said, "Do you know him?" And I knew who he was. He's been about a long while. He's fought for world titles and stuff, and Europe, been a former European champion. So I know he's a good fighter. He's always been in the rankings. I always look at BoxRec at the rankings, who's in around my weight and stuff. So as soon as he sent it over, I said yeah straight away. Like I want to be back in the mix in a good fight. And we went out to Italy. It was a 12-round fight. Hostile little crowd, but it was a good little fight, and I ended up coming away with a victory. So it was a good little trip all round.
Well, obviously, best of luck with your career, Martin. I want to ask you one final question, if I can. Yep. Hypothetically speaking, if Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury get it on, who wins and by what method of victory?
It's a tough one. It's the basically number 1 and 2 in the world at the minute. I think it makes for a great fight. I think it makes a hell of a lot of money, and I would probably off the last couple of performances from them both, I'd probably sway towards Tyson Fury to take the victory. But anything can happen on the night with these big guys, and they can big punch power. One punch can change a fight. Sorry, so anything can happen on the night. But I'd sway towards Tyson Fury, to be honest. I'll be backing him if I was backing anybody.
Excellent stuff. Thanks very much for joining us. Do you want to remind the fans just about those social media presences again, Martin?
Yeah, on Instagram, if you get at me at Martin J Ward 1. Also the same on Twitter, Martin J Ward 1. Give us a follow and have a little look at my latest little videos of me training from home, and I hope all you guys enjoy it.
Lovely stuff. Thanks again, and stay safe, sir.
Top man, you too. Bye bye.
All the best. Bye bye now.
Bye.
Martin J Ward there, joining us on this Sunday evening, episode 367. Good to hear him. Good to hear as well, Gabe Lewis has jumped in the old panel. What is it? The hot room, the green room. Are you there, Gabe?
I am here.
What's happening over in Texas land? How are they treating you?
The Grand Wizard.
We're shut down. I mean, I'm not going to actual work. I'm working from home, like most people in the area. But it's just now starting to get out here to us out in the sticks, all this fucking virus shit. So, like Dallas is still growing a lot with it. I believe Houston is too. But, aside from that, just watching old fights and fiddle fucking around the house. Same old, same old.
Mrs. Lewis, getting it tight. Ooh.
Yo!
He's not biting. He's not biting.
No denying it either, is he?
He's not.
Got me kicks the
He's
bends
not.
outside. Go and play with my guns until I'd gun your mother.
How's it going for you fellas?
Shite.
Not too bad,
I'm bored.
Gabe. All right.
I'm getting bored. Like I need to get. I need to get something different going.
I did went to go to the store just a bit ago. We had to go get some groceries real quick, so that was an adventure. Most exciting fucking thing I've done in a few days.
You take your guns with you?
No, I did not. They stayed at home.
Do you ever take the guns out, Gabe? Like when you walk in the streets and things, do you ever take the gun out and just
He
put
did it.
or anything like that? Or
He did it when he was backfiring the wife. Like he was doing they call it the Christian Bale pose in American Psycho. He's got the fucking muscles popped out. He's look yourself in the mirror.
Not quite.
Fire up the chainsaw.
That kind of shit. There's some of these nuts that do that. They'll take their rifles and shit out to the streets and walk around with them on their backs and everything. But the average person isn't a fucktard and doesn't do that kind of shit.
Oh, I was just about to bring Rob Kelly in, but unfortunately he's left as soon as he appeared. He did say the weather wasn't too bad. The weather's terrible here as well, actually.
Is it?
It's really...
It's
yeah,
been 18
it's
degrees
really
in
blowy
Scotland,
out.
man.
No, it's
Is it?
blowy outside here, yeah.
Oh man, it's been taps half weather up here today.
No, it's not. It's not like that here now. Rapping Rob Kelly, hopefully he hasn't been blown away. Smido, I want to bring you in here actually at this point because you threw in a cracker of a question or a point or whatever it was a few weeks ago that I want to just pick you up on. You said best and worst fight predictions you've made. Now I could fill a whole show all by myself on this, Smido. We could even get bitchy and call each other out. Well, I'm going to call you out, Smid. Do you remember that time you said Vlad could knock Fury out with a jab, you big numpty?
Yeah, that was on my list. Yeah, I'm not scared of admitting some bad predictions that have gone in my time. Fucking hell, there's been some absolute terrible ones from me. I think I picked Lucas Brand to beat Dillian White and Dave Allen, I think, and he got beat both times, outdoing himself on the scales both times. Yeah, so there's been some bad ones, but there's been a couple of good ones along the way as well, Steve. Going way back to even before I think I was on the podcast, Froch to beat Butte was 8-1. That was one of my picks, and they always I know we all will remember the positives in our past, but it's they somewhat stand out more for me because of the odds basis. Obviously, all gamblers will tell you about the winning bets until the cows come home, and I'm no different. That Froch Butte was one of my earliest and best ones. 8-1 the KO on that night. I mean, you look back and you think people will be listening to this not believing that price, but that was true. Vlad could knock down Fury with a jab. That was one of my best of all time. One of the best with not as much financial gain was when I picked live on the podcast Timothy Bradley to knock out Brandon Rios, and friend of the pod, or former friend of the pod, Shep, called me out and said it was the worst pick ever, only for it to actually go and happen that weekend. So we revelled in that after that fight as well. So yeah, there's been some absolute belters from good, bad, ugly from all sides of the panel. No doubt it might open a little bit of a discussion.
Everyone knows me picking Avni Yildirim to win the World Boxing Super Series as one of the bad ones.
I thought that was a
Hey, I tell you what, you see before you back knocked him out, he was doing well for those first couple of rounds. I was riding high.
That's like saying Bellew was winning the fight against Usyk because he was hanging in there, you know. And he gets ice good and proper.
Spike O'Sullivan winning the first 30 seconds against Lemieux, I know, absolutely. I'm pretty sure, I can't verify this, but I think I picked Amir Khan to beat Canelo as well. I might as well, I'm pretty sure I did.
I'm trying to think, did you not have Amir at cruiserweight as well? Who was you picking at cruiserweight that tournament?
Dorticos, that wasn't too bad.
That wasn't too bad.
I watched that fight against Gaziev the other night, actually, it was quite good.
One of the worst ones I ever did was I was swayed. I remember one of the first times I was on the pod, or early in my pod career, I was swayed by you lot Sergio Martinez was fighting Miguel Cotto, and I really fancied Cotto to win, but everyone was so like anti-Cotto in the chat, in the Twitter DMs, on the pod. Everyone and it was like, nah, no chance, man. Martinez is going to destroy him. And like a feeble wimp, I went with the crowd, and I agreed, and I said, yeah, Martinez is going to win. But I really fancied Cotto, and this was before the injury and everything. So from that point onwards, I've decided to just go with my gut and ignore you lot, and that was what led me to the Avni.
Just on that one, Steve, I don't think I gave a podcast prediction because I don't think I was on that week. But I actually backed Cotto. He was like 2-1 to beat Martinez because of his knees were in bits. Even in the lead-up videos, you could see his knees were in pieces. But I'm trying to think of some other bad ones I've had. Like I say, Lucas Brown twice, and he came in looking like a fat whale.
I thought David Hay would beat Klitschko out in Germany. I fancied him to beat Klitschko. Yeah.
Smithers said the Fortune was going to knock out Ward.
Steady on.
I said. I thought I gave O'Hara Davis a shout against Josh Taylor, so that's beats everything there.
Oh, what?
I said he had a chance. I didn't say he would have, but I gave him a shot.
I couldn't believe how many people had that 50-50 fight, by the way. That was incredible.
I did, yeah. I thought it was close now.
Thing is, some of them some aren't necessarily bad picks if you've got like fair justifications. Like Lucas Brown beating Dave Allen is not a bad prediction in my opinion. Like in reality, Brown should have been beating someone like Allen, and I thought he could knock out Dillian White as well until he turned up like a fat pig. So again, you don't see that, do you? Until bear in mind we record before fight week as well, so we don't even see any on the scale shots or anything like that. I mean, Avni Yildirim to win the World Boxing Super Series. Now that is a bad pick, but some of them, I'm like just because you get a fight prediction wrong doesn't mean it's a bad selection. If you fair, like it's justified and has reason, and there's thought behind it. I thought Ricky Burns had beat Anthony Crolla because I genuinely felt Burns was just a better fighter than him. But what was it? Crolla pinched it by a couple of rounds. Is that a bad pick, or is that just one from where the fight just didn't go your way? As I say, Yildirim winning that Super Series tournament was, amusing, that to say the least. It made me laugh. But I'm trying to think of any others. Have we had any others? Chuck
tell you what.
Go on.
See my best prediction.
Lord Kovalev there. Go ahead.
No, you go, mate. No, you go.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm not quite ready to jump fully in anyway. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the best predictions almost came true off me actually with that Klitschko-Joshua fight. When Klitschko landed the right hand, and it was there to be had, man, and they just let it slip.
Yeah.
Just let it slip.
I'm with you, Andy, as well. I picked Klitschko to beat him.
Good stuff, lads. We'll go back to that very shortly. Before we do so, our second guest of the evening is on the line right now. Delighted to welcome friend of the pod, regular guest, John Ryder. How are you, John?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me again.
No problem at all. We're just speaking to Martin Ward there. A lot of the initial questions will be pretty similar to what we asked him. How are you ticking over at the moment, John?
Just doing my runs at home. Bought a kettlebell for a home workout provided by Dan Lawrence, my strength and conditioner, so getting that in as well, and just considering buying a bike this week as I'm a bit bored of the runs and same routes, just trying to switch up a bit, so just trying to make the best of a bad situation.
What about your diet? How have you been managing your diet?
You know what, that's the tough one. I mean, I've completely dropped out breakfast. I'm a smoothie man in the morning, a very light lunch and just dinner now, so just trying to keep it in check and just not blow up too much.
What about keeping yourself occupied? Do you watch old fights? Are you a TV watcher? What's the story?
I do like the soaps and the TV programmes. On Netflix every night looking for something to watch, but I feel like I've seen everything. But going over some old fights. We've obviously got a group chat in our gym, and Tony Sims is putting good fights in every night, about learning fights that we should watch and pick things out of, and just develop the mind as well as the body.
Before the lockdown then, John, how were things going career-wise? Obviously you were just off the back of the Callum Smith fight. How were things progressing?
Yeah, I mean, we had no dates specified, but we was told that either the AJ Bill or the 23rd of May. So we were just working towards either one of them, just looking to put the foot on the gas a bit. But nothing was finalised, just talks. But yeah, I mean, this is throwing a real spanner in the works, not just for me, but for the boxing world.
One of the boys has thrown a question in for you, John. He says, ask him how Grandad Tom is doing. Haven't heard from him in a while. Hope he's well.
Grandad Tom, I think there must be, Tom. He's an old Irish fella, lovely bloke. Used to come to all of my amateur fights. Really nice fella. I've not spoken to him for a while, but I must check up on him. It's a good reminder.
Absolutely, there we go. John Ryder's on the call with us, everybody. Social media, _John, _Ryder, _ have I got that right?
That's it, mate, all the underscores.
All the underscores. Are you active on social at the moment? Are you putting up like videos or anything?
More just reposting. My life's not that fun. I don't want to bore people with it. But no, I'm trying to be more active and do a bit more. So maybe I'll have a big surge this week and really go for it.
Yeah, a few of the boys in the chat giving you a shout out here. One of them says, would love to see John get another title fight ASAP. Another fella says, remember that time John Ryder detonated a bomb on Jamie Cox and KO'd him in the second round? What a fucking legend. So they're loving it here, John, that you're on with us.
Oh, lovely, yeah, good response.
Take Ames has thrown in a question as well. He said, in boxing there doesn't seem to be a conclusive definition of what a robbery is. Being someone who was seemingly on the end of a high profile robbery, how do you define a robbery, John?
I think you just what you see on the November 23rd in Liverpool, a fight that I won and won well, and just absolutely having the carpet ripped from beneath you.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Tosh is saying here to you, John, Callum Smith, Billy Joe, push them to one side. John versus Canelo, let's have it. You should be the champ.
Well, I like your way of thinking. If only as a promoter.
What about Canelo then? Obviously, we've spoken about this before, but it's a hell of a task if you were to get a Canelo fight. How on earth would you even go ahead, trying to beat a guy like Canelo, given his abilities?
I was just asked this question a while ago. I mean, people obviously say, who do you think, Callum Smith or Billy Joe Saunders? But I just think you've got to be smart with him. You can't punch with him. He's way too smart for that. You've got to just be smart with your feet. His ring craft is second to none, but you've got to just be sharp with your feet, sharp with your punches, mix out the hidden body. He might criticise you for running throughout the fight, but you just got to stay out your way. The less you get hit, the better with him.
And obviously things are up in the air now, given what's going on and all the other things outside of the ring. Billy Joe was supposed to, we anticipated that he was going to get the Canelo fight. You've obviously been in with Billy Joe. Do you think he's got the tools to mess Canelo about and make a decent argument of it?
I do, yeah. I mean, his footwork is unbelievable. He's so light on his feet and he is really sharp. Real sharp puncher, not the biggest puncher, but a real sharp puncher, and I think he's got the skills to unsettle Canelo foot and make it hard for him.
Just before we finish up then, John, what about a fight between yourself and Billy Joe Saunders? That's not beyond the realms of possibility at some point?
No, you know what, I mean, I get on well with Billy Joe, and when we see each other we chat, but listen, I'm open to all these fights. I want to right all the wrongs in my career and get all these rematches out of the way and put it straight and be a world champion. So I'll fight whether I've got a fight to do it, whether it be Callum Smith or Billy Joe Saunders. Chuck Caleb Plant or Benavidez in there, anyone who wants it, I'll fight any of them.
Well said, John. A great place to end it there. One of the guys is saying, yep, John gave Billy Joe Saunders his toughest fight. Wouldn't disagree with that whatsoever. _John, _Ryder, _ Thanks for jumping on as always. We do appreciate it, and stay safe out there, John.
Thanks for having me.
All the best now. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
John Ryder there, out in boxing world. He's a good guy, isn't he, John? Like hearing from him, Ozzy. Thanks for setting that up. It's difficult for these guys, isn't it, not knowing when they're going to be fighting again. Ward was mentioning June there. Ryder possibly would have got a shot on a big undercard, maybe rematch with Callum Smith. It's difficult for these guys not to start stuffing your face like a pig.
Yeah, and it is tough as well because you're technically only allowed out for, what is it, an hour a day. So, I mean, the professional athletes as well, aren't they? They've got to repeatedly train, so they're making use of what they've got at home and then getting out on the road to do runs or go on the bike or something like that, just to vary it up. I think unless you're blessed by, wealthy sponsors who will continue to pay you regardless of whether you're fighting or not. It's extremely difficult, and you are self-employed. You're not on a retainer with these promoters. You get paid when you fight. And Martin Ward made a great point, is that without boxing at the moment, these guys are essentially unemployed. There's no fights being made whatsoever, and I mean, I think June's optimistic, and that's just going off from what we've seen at the moment. We've seen, like things in China relaxed, and nothing's really happening yet over there. But things change, and it would be great if it did return in June. And I think for the fighters in particular, I think they'd love it, even if it was just like general runouts, because what we need to remember is, and I think Steve Lillis mentioned it last week, these guys can keep fit, they can keep running, they can watch the diet, they can keep doing what they're doing, but you can't replace boxing fitness, and that's sparring, and that can't be going on at the moment. So yeah, dates can happen and things like that, but then in terms of getting 6 weeks in the gym and like proper sparring and things like that, it's going to be extremely difficult. So I don't know. I think everybody wants to see it return. I just think it's so difficult to pin a date on it. It's such a fluctuating and changing situation. I don't think anyone can say with any real confidence when we expect to see boxing back on the TV.
Absolutely. Episode 367, everybody. You're listening to a Nuthouse podcast. There's Ozzy. Oh, just throw my microphone across the table. Why not? Ozzy's on the call with us. Adam Smith as well. Rob Kelly, Andy Patterson, and Gabe Lewis. I cut you off in your prime, boys. Anybody else want to throw in, maybe you, Gabe, do you want to throw in any bad predictions that you've made over the years? Hard to think of any bad predictions coming from you, Gabe. There must be one or two there in the old memory banks.
He was Oracle for 2 fights running until the lockdown happened. What was the 2 fights again?
Oh yeah, Fury Wilder.
Good lately.
I gave you shit for one of them as well.
Fuck, Fury over Wilder.
And
yeah, he said he called the Fury stoppage over Wilder, but as Wesley Snipes said to Woody Harrelson, a white man can't jump. Even the sun shines on a dog's ass once in a while. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm trying to think of a really bad prediction. I mean, I know.
Oh yeah, Hellenius. Sorry, Gabe. Hellenius against Kovnacki was the other one.
Oh yeah,
Swaggy Taggy reminded me in the chat there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Gabe picks Hellenius to win every fight.
Whenever I make predictions, I try to be as rational as possible. So I don't know. I mean, I have gotten them wrong before. I know I picked Darchinyan in the rematch over fucking Donaire, but I mean that was a really close fight. Vic was winning the fight up until the very end. So that was almost. I'm trying to think of like a really, really bad one.
I got one for you. You were the only one on the panel that had Rigo to beat Loma.
Yeah, I think that was more wishful thinking than anything.
That's been fanboyism, though.
That was pretty bad. Man, I'm having a hard time thinking of a really bad one. I was trying to find something in the memory bank that was just like a fucking awful prediction, but I don't know. I mean, I've had some bad ones, obviously, but I can't think of anything too terrible. I'm sure some of the listeners or someone that goes back and digs through can probably find some bad ones. I know. Let's see. The first World Boxing Super Series, the cruiserweights. Yildirim, who did he fight?
Super middle.
That was super middle.
Eubank.
That was super middle.
Super middle.
Yildirim.
Yeah, I think I did Yildirim with Stevie on that one. I don't think I picked him to win the whole thing, but I picked him in that fight.
Yeah, I said he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, Yildirim.
Absolutely.
The
new Sinan Samuel Sam.
There's a good one by Ozzy a couple of years ago, maybe less, that Ryan Doyle fought on a Wednesday night at on Sky. It was 8-1 in the betting. Who did he beat? Reece Bellotti, that's it. Yeah, the guy trained in London. This is not prediction based, but I've just had a horrible betting related flashback, and this can't have happened any time before. I forgot what the fight was specifically. I had a bet on the outsider, only a tenner, and he got read out at the end of the fight, went the distance, got read out at the end of the fight as the winner, and then within 30 seconds they'd made a hash of the scorecards and he didn't actually win, so I was celebrating a bet that he didn't actually win.
Oh, no way. When was this, Smido? Recent one?
Oh. Yeah, in the last, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I'm trying to remember it. It'll come to me. It'll come to me.
I know that happened. It might not be this one, but wasn't Korobov Alim? Do you remember? They give it to Korobov, and then afterwards in the change rooms they went and told him it was a draw or something like that. I'm pretty sure.
I do remember that. Yeah. No, this happened in the ring like within like a minute of it happening. It was in. Right. It was in. I think it was on an American undercard at one of the lower weights. It'll come to me.
Back in the day, Winky Wright as well. He got a draw against Harry Simon, and then afterwards they totted it up and they said that Simon had won the fight. I think it was in South Africa. Anywho,
last night
let's
he
move
stopped
on.
Carlos Mons on as well.
Which one was that, Andy?
So apparently Winky Wright beat Carlos Mons on last night by stoppage.
Ugh.
He did.
Fuck.
Although he's just lost in the final, according to Twitter.
Just would have been as in like split decision, majority against Sugar Ray Robinson. It'd be fucking.
No,
I haven't been watching that, but how's the pullouts happen? I don't understand. He pulled out, haven't they?
Robinson scores knockout in EWBSS final. It's shite. Now, why are they doing that? It just doesn't do anything for me
They're
at
just
all.
raking the barrel. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, we might get
And
scraping the
trenches
barrel. I
look
have a little
fucking
game for us to
content.
play later. You think that's bad? You wait. If we get desperate, Andy, I have my own little concoction coming up later on, or maybe next week or the week after. I tell you what, I'll be scraping the barrel with you boys.
Killer?
No, it's not as much fun as that. It's just some mad shit I come up with the other day, but yeah, it could fall flat on its arse, who knows. Anyway, questions from the listeners is probably safer territory. Rapping Rob Kelly, first one's coming for you from Declan Graffin. He's been rewatching a lot of Floyd fights lately, not like Adam Smido Smith. Who does the panel think, specifically you, Rob, was the best win or performance of the firstly Pretty Boy Floyd era, and secondly the Money Mayweather era?
Yeah, Castillo was pretty impressive. Looked good against like some man. Yeah, not Castillo, Corrales rather.
Oh yeah.
Corrales, he looked unbelievable against Corrales.
Yeah.
And then the Money Mayweather, I think Maidana might be his best win, or Canelo. He looked brilliant against Canelo. Canelo was a bit green, but Maidana probably was definitely the best fight of the Money Mayweather era. Although the account Oscar, Ricky Hatton, they were like dominant performances, and then the Ricky Hatton one came with a knockout, but then Ricky was 140. Marquez and all them, you're not really reading too much into those. I would say probably Maidana 1 was for me the best fight of the Money Mayweather era anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, he threw in Andy. Declan said, does Andy think that AB was the heir to the throne? Lol, the last bit was a bit of a joke. But talking about bad predictions, as you well know, Andy, I did indeed proclaim AB to be the heir to the Mayweather throne, so there's another L for me.
Yep. Yeah, fucking taking a few this week, mate. I'm trying to think of my worst predictions, actually. I guess there's definitely been a few, but I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. As I say, I picked Klitschko to knock out Joshua. I thought Hay might have got to Klitschko as well late. I did pick Groves to win the Super Series. I don't know if that's a bad pick or not. He'd only to get to the final.
I think a few of us had Groves, didn't we, at the time?
Yeah.
The injury wasn't as apparent. Like,
Kessler against Frotch rematch. I did pick Kessler in that one. No, I did say Ward would have went undefeated, so I always picked for him. I picked Floyd to beat Manny. Gonzalez.
I had B-Hop to beat Kovalev. Fucking hell.
I'll tell you what, I might have went and done that line as well, actually, because I was like, why would Hopkins
just
take
done
a
it
fight
so
like
many. He done it so many times, and the angles and stuff.
Yeah, that is. I did pick Hopkins because I always say to myself, I was sick and tired of picking against him. and he was always winning these biggish fights. I'm saying to myself, so I'm going to go for Hopkins this time. He's seen something in Kovalev that he can work on, and of course he gets dropped in the first round. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, here we go.
MB in the chat says, I think I might have fancied Clev to beat Kovalev at the time, but that bullshitter Bunsey, it does that. He picked Cleverly to beat Kovalev, and he picked Pricey to beat Thompson, and I think in both fights, and afterwards he was making all these, oh, well, you know, I said that he might, and then I seen him on the scales. But, I mean...
Got another one, actually. Back in the forum days, you know, Tommy's a big Mexican fan and stuff, so he was a big Chavez Jr. fan back in the day, and I always liked Sergio Martinez. And when that fight got made, Tommy and Kurt were banging on for about, you know, Julio was going to do this, he was going to do that, and it was fucking funny. We're all up to watch the fight, and we're all on the forum, and we're all commenting and stuff. You could just see Tommy like that, 1-0, 2-0 Martinez, so it was right through to 11th round, 11-0, and they get to the final round, and Tommy's like that. That's if he could just have pulled it off. But that was one of my good predictions, because even under all that firepower with Tommy and Kurt, all the shit they were gaining us and stuff, I stood firm, Steve. I didn't do what you did. I didn't follow the sheep. Stood true to my prediction, and it came true in the end. But that was probably the end of Martinez after that fight, really, wasn't it? I mean, they got lucky. I just was lucky. Yeah. I thought he beat Murray, just and no more. But that was definitely that was his beat. He was a really good fighter to watch. As soon as he got to like the Pavlik era and the Barker, and they fight Macklin as well, I think. It was probably at his absolute prime then, and then obviously beating Chavez and that, you're like, okay. But obviously it goes without saying, you know, Lou DiBella is also part of the blame for this as well, but he was part of that quartet of middleweights that knocked Golovkin when he was coming up. Cotto did it.
I've been revising Martinez's career, Andy, because I always thought he was an excellent fighter, but I wondered whether there was a lot of substance. But if you look at that run that you were talking about, I'm pretty sure he took Macklin's O. No, Macklin's O had been taken by Sturm. Sorry, he took Murray's O, I think. He took Chavez's O. He took Sergei Zinziruk's O, which was nearly 40 fights. You know, he had a right good run if you think about it. Huh?
He could have fought at 54 as well, by the way.
He did fight at 54.
That's what I'm saying, so... You know what I mean? To be middleweight champion, and you know he was definitely a hell of a fighter. Martinez, like, good guy.
He fought in the UK a couple of times as well, did he know, Steve?
He did. He fought Richard Williams for the IBO title a couple of times.
Did he knock out
and he lost to Antonio Margarito on the first Barrera Morales card in 2000.
Stopped in the 7th round against the ropes or something like that, I don't recall.
Yep, there you go. I interviewed him once, couldn't speak a word of English.
We can't be talking about Sergio Martinez's career and not mention that knockout of Paul Williams. That was iconic.
It was
iconic. I mean, I was only just like getting into the hardcore stage of boxing there. That was sensational at the time. That was one of your moments where you could shout timber. By the way, honestly, God, it was lights. The second that shot landed, man, it's probably one of the greatest knockouts. Of the modern era. And I watched it on...
the angle he threw it from as well, he got low leverage, and Williams never seen it. Like, a lot of people thought Paul Williams would have beaten Mayweather.
Of course, the first fight was a load of bollocks as well, because he had shocking scorecards in that first fight.
Yeah, Williams got a draw or something, did he, in the first fight?
I know, he got the
majority decision, wasn't it? Williams in the first one.
One of the cards was like a 118, 110 thing, and I don't know if it was a draw on another card, or... What was it a split decision, Steve? So it means Martinez must have got a card
majority
as well.
I think it was, Andy. I was writing about it for someone the other day. That's why I was looking back over Martinez's career. I think it was a majority, yeah.
Right.
Williams got a decision against Lara too, didn't he? That was contentious. Was that Williams? Yeah, I think he did.
And he got one against.
People said he would beat Floyd, but everyone was clutching for straws back then, though, weren't they, Rob? Because they used to say Margarito would have beaten Floyd, and everyone he didn't face, basically.
True. I think it was the height. It was the height factor that they were.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, you're right. Clutching the straws, definitely.
Sorry, anything to add, Andy?
Predictions wise,
can't remember what we were talking about now before we went off there.
Well, I can't mind. It was a question that came in there about Broner being the next era
that's
throne
right,
or something like that. Obviously, I was never in
agreement
agreement
with that.
When Broner was at lightweight and Steve made his prophecy about Broner being the next Floyd, that was a fair comment to make, because he was sensational down at lightweight.
You got to put it in the context, though, Smith. Put it in the context. I mean, if you see Floyd coming up through the weights before he settled at welterweight, he actually beat names. Fucking Broner hadn't beat anybody. Grafman Reese, come on. You know, at best he was okay. He done well to get a world title and stuff.
Yeah, but wasn't it Antonio DeMarco who he blasted?
But you know, DeMarco's seen better days than that. You know, Valero beat the prime out of him, made him quit.
Who was it, Andy, that Broner beat? Was it Escalante or somebody? And Broner said, "I'm not making the weight." And I first realised he was an arsehole at this point. He said, "I'm not making the weight, so you can either fight me at my weight or you ain't getting a payday." And I thought, this guy's a bit of a wanker.
He was posting pictures on Twitter of him eating the Mars bar ice cream bars or whatever it was in that back in the day and all that sort of shit. You know, he thought because Floyd was going into you know, after night suit and stuff like McDonald's, getting a burger and chips and stuff like that. Broner thought he could do it. The thing is, Broner was asking for double leg and chips. With fucking, you know, Floyd was asking for you know, for a diet version of it or whatever. You know, he's just a fat greedy bastard. That's all he is. And whatever talent he had, it's like, again, you can have all the talent in the world. Doesn't matter.
Hey, Floyd knows talent.
If Floyd
fucks him off.
Floyd put the work in. And that's what it comes down to the end of the day. It's not about talent. It's about the person who's willing to put the work in. That's what's all. You know, successful people who put in the hard graft, the hard yards. But Floyd did. Manny did. You know, all these guys who stay on top for long, long periods of time. These are the guys you look at. No fucking Adrian Broner.
Exactly. It's smoke and mirrors. It's like whenever Mayorga used to eat the pizza or smoke the cigar or whatever it was on the scales, and he looked like he wasn't trained. Obviously, he'd put in like a camp for 12 weeks before that point. You know, it's all smoke and mirrors. Floyd was putting it in constantly every single night, and you only saw the stupid shit he was doing, but behind the scenes, he was working like a Trojan, Smido.
They reckon he's back in training again, don't they, Floyd?
Yeah, he's
trolling everybody.
Yeah.
Can't stay out of the headlines, can he?
Well, neither can Amir Khan.
Value of the week, we'll leave that one.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Okay, Ozzy. I'll bring you in on a question here, Ozzy, then when I sort that out. Dillian White was supposed to fight Alexander Povetkin. That's been postponed until July the 4th. All the May events have been called off due to this corona thing. I'm wondering, should they be moving it to July the 4th? Should they just be saying that they're moving it to a date that's been undisclosed? It seems a bit weird moving it to a date so close when we couldn't be sorted out, and then they're going to have to move it again. I mean, obviously it's not my problem, but does that not strike you as being a bit strange, Ozzy?
No, because things can change. So they won't want to see it as a missed opportunity if they say, for example, go into a date to be confirmed or August, September, and then we get the go-ahead now, for example, or in like 4 weeks' time, and then it's essentially, you know, they'll be thinking, oh, look at this missed opportunity we've got. We could have gone, you know, like 6 or 8 weeks earlier. There's also a reliance as well, you've got to remember, on people buying tickets. So tickets, they could bump a show down, you know, a couple of months down the line, and people may think, right, yeah, go on, let's buy them. If they don't confirm a date for it, which I don't know if they're going to do with like Joshua, you know, because I think the venue now has become unavailable at the Tottenham Stadium, because when they'll want to do it, pre-season will be underway. Now I know the pitch can, you know, it can come. There's essentially two levels of it, but that venue is no longer confirmed anymore. And then moving on from that, I wonder if we'll see Joshua Pulev this year. I wonder if it's going to be one fight only. Will they go all out and try and make the Tyson Fury fight? That's what it's been spoken about. Whether that can happen, I'm not too sure. But it's one thing I'd definitely support. I mean, one thing just before we bring the next guest in, I just want to touch on is I listened to an interview from Edward in regards to how he sees boxing come back, and I agreed with what he said in terms of I don't think boxing will be the same. But what he did say is that he thinks the pay-per-view market will be booming. I just don't get that. I don't understand. When he says booming,
he means it will be busy, because he's going to make it fucking busy. Whether it be booming, that is not up to him.
I don't think it
Evening,
will.
Ed.
I don't understand how he thinks people who essentially have been furloughed and things like that and are going to be getting back on the feet are then going to go straight away, oh yeah, go on, let's fork out £25 in July, £25 in August, and £25 in September, when all the Sky subscriptions are being reactivated as well because live sports back. I just don't see that whatsoever. Not to watch Derek Chisora headline at the O2 and things like that. I think it's quiet optimism. He thinks it's going to boom, but I'll be amazed. I mean, fair play if it does, but I'd be shocked.
Just in regards to the Chisora and Usyk getting a new date, that'll be to do with the O2 as well, because it'll be they might be sitting at Matchroom headquarters thinking it's unlikely to be ready for July the 4th, but they might as well book it anyway and have that venue, because we know it's there's only so many dates for boxing per year at the O2, 4 maybe less. So, and then if the lockdown continues, they'll just have to change it again. It's a bit of an insurance policy for them, really.
No, you're right. And I do understand that they need to book dates as well. I've nothing against that, because that needs to happen. Dubois Joyce has been rescheduled for a date. It's always going to happen, and I think they're just going to roll it as it is now, see what happens, and then if it gets too tight, move it again by, say, another 4 weeks, or when the date's available. And again, Steve Lillis said another good point last week. They're not just up against, average Joe, but musicians rearranging concerts, and they're going to be looking for, arena dates as well. So it's going to be a hectic time, and they've got to plan in advance now. Otherwise, it's just not going to. Essentially, the shows will not happen because the venues won't work out.
The show must go on.
The show must go on, indeed. Go on, Smith.
I just had a bit of a wild thought earlier. We was talking about behind closed doors boxing, and the it wouldn't be good to be using up hospital beds and ambulances, etc. What if they do a behind the closed doors in Monte Carlo, where they can basically buy health provision and doctors, etc. Now, I know they've got to get the boxers there, but as I said before, you're only talking about 6 or 8 boxers. I'm just wondering whether they, can relax the travel arrangements and the rules a little bit, get 10 boxers in Monte Carlo, and away you go. It's on Sky, no crowd. Just a thought.
To be fair as well, Smido, it's like there's no atmosphere when they're in Monte Carlo anyway. So it's not as if the crowd makes a difference.
Exactly. It's a very small state ran by one bloke and his wife. I reckon they could get. They can run on different licenses, not British boxing. Just thinking about it.
We could see Shannon Briggs, Dillian White headline a show out there, couldn't we? All about the banter, get the buys in. Briggs walking round, going, "Let's go, champ," and going crazy and things like that.
They could get as much juice. They could get juiced up to the gills, the pair of them. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's another thing, isn't it? UCAD putting out a post saying they're going to reduce the amount of testing. Arthur Boxing would have been loving that, wouldn't they? Needles straight out the bags, popping up what they can, because they know UCAD won't be knocking on the door because they've publicly announced it to anybody. I mean, what are they playing out there? Why would an organisation like that tests people for cheating, for using drugs, announce that they are going to be reducing the amount of tests they do?
Do you not think it would have got out anyway? I do.
Quite possibly. But don't put it out in the public domain by yourself.
Yeah.
It is idiotic, absolutely idiotic, and it's no wonder they're a laughingstock, an absolute laughingstock. And you take them to a case, and if you've got deep pockets, you've won before it's even started, because they just cannot physically keep up with the amount of money that's involved. So I mean, it says it all about the sport, that, doesn't it? Yeah. One of the major testing bodies announces that we're reducing testing, and then we'll publicise it to everybody. It's just
justice for Liam Cameron.
Well, yeah, but we know a few people who agree with that, Smid, don't we?
Aye.
But no, it's interesting times for the sport. Who knows what's going to happen next? Who knows? I still stand by that. I mean, we saw what's his name, Ibra Riaz, retired during the week. Decided to call it quits. Now he's like essentially he's he's a journeyman. I think he must have had about 300 fights or something like that, and he's decided to call it quits. It wouldn't shock me if he's the first of a few now that just think, I can't be arsed anymore. I've done my time. I'm going to have 4 or 5 months off. Can I be bothered? So I think boxing's had its first victim because of the virus, and I think it won't be the last. I also think some smaller hole promoters will knock it on the head as well. So we'll just, I think we'll wait and see, won't we?
Well, indeed, Ozzy. I'm going to ring up our next guest live on the call here, Richard Poxon. Try and get him on the call if we can. 1 second.
You just cut me off in my prime then.
It wasn't me. I don't know what happened there, to be honest. I think it was the reception. Richard, how are you?
I'm alright, mate. How are you?
Not too bad at all. How are you getting on through the lockdown? How's things?
It's alright. We're all in the same boat, aren't we? It's kind of pointless as moaning about it or crying about it. It's just something we've got to stick to and get on with, isn't it? It's an unprecedented situation for everyone. Obviously, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but I've never known anything like this. So it's the kids and stuff you feel sorry for, innit? We're just stuck in and can't do anything.
Absolutely. It's strange times indeed. You've been in boxing for quite a while, as you mentioned there. How did you first get involved in the sport, Richard?
Just through training amateurs and stuff like that, really. I got involved in training amateurs, and it just kind of went through that from there.
And obviously you ended up working with Ricky Hatton, heading up Hatton Promotions. Must have been quite the experience.
Yeah, that were a bit of a roller coaster, in lots of different ways. But yeah, it were, like you say, it were a good experience, and just part of the journey of stuff I've done, really.
Obviously, you were famous for your work with Clinton Woods. I was listening to your podcast there recently that you did with Rico Hoy. He was some character, Hoy. A lot of our younger listeners might not know much about him, but do you want to just tell us quickly about Rico Hoy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in touch with him all the time now. Actually, he's a really nice kid. Rico is. He was sentenced to murder for a murder charge. I think it was some type of gang-related fallout. I think I can't remember actually off the top of my head, but remembering back to the podcast, I think there'd been a fight earlier in the day, and he'd been hit or something, and he lost his temper, went back and got hold of a gun, came back, fired one off, and saw the kid hit the ground, thinking he'd just hit him somewhere, but he'd killed him, and he got sentenced to life in prison at something like, I can't remember off the top of my head, Steve, but I think he was like 16, 17 when he actually got sentenced. And then because his trial took a while to come about, he ended up not being tried as a child, but he ended up tried as an adult. So, but I mean, when he did eventually turn pro, he shot through absolutely everybody, and he was like the heir apparent of American boxing. Really, was seen as the next big up at that weight.
Yeah, whenever he came over, am I right in remembering he was a big puncher and the fight ended up on BBC?
Yeah, on BBC, yeah. He was a terrific puncher, really big puncher. But it was a bit weird. I remember him coming over, and obviously he was talked about in Ring magazine and, boxing magazines, and this might be days just about pre-internet or start of internet, which some of your listeners, I'm sure, will wonder within a world when internet weren't quite the big thing. But he were just like in the American media and that, he were pushed as like the next Bob Foster, and he could do everything. He'd got this really interesting backstory. But the thing I remember, he ended up coming across, and there were nobody from his promotional company, and the fella he'd prepared with, he'd not come across either. So it was kind of his mate who was like an assistant trainer. Mm-hmm. It was just them two. And I just remember thinking at the time, he was with Gary Shaw, I think we're promoting him then. He was with Gary Shaw, and I can't remember the name of his trainer, but his trainer just started working with an high-profile fighter, and he won't come across. And I just thought, if this kid's getting all this backing from American media and seen as this, that, and other, it was just, you couldn't quite get your head around how they'd send him across to Britain, his first fight outside of the States on his own.
Yeah, well, I mean, Clinton was excellent that night, vacant IBF light heavyweight title. Just take us back. What are your overriding memories? Clinton, he really was superb that night. Yeah,
I think, look, probably all people who thought he won't get beat were me and Clinton, to be honest. Everybody thought he was just going to get blown away. And so, press were all for Hoy. I think most people in boxing were for Hoy. I think even most people who were Clinton pals in Sheffield thought that Hoy You know, it were a tall order, but he boxed fantastically that night. Just dismantled him really very quickly.
Again, this is the top of my head, Richard. Am I right in saying after the fight, did they get Joe Calzaghe on the phone?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, BBC, as they were sat at ringside, it was a bit of an own goal, really. It was a silly thing to do. Said, "Oh, we've got somebody who wants to speak to you," and it was Joe Calzaghe. And when Clinton had all the attempts at a world title, he'd had his 3 attempts already, and to just get that fight, to stick like Joe Calzaghe on the phone. And no disrespect with Joe, I like Joe, but it was just a bit of a silly. I don't know who'd come up with the idea really, but it was just a daft thing to do, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember thinking that at the time. Just moving on, you've been involved as well with Eubank Jr. fights. How were they to work with?
Do you know what? And I know what people say about them and that, but they've never given me a second's headache, really. They was right as rain. They will genuinely box anyone and fight anyone. And there's never been a conversation whether it's, you know, what about this kid or what about that kid, or when I spoke to Alan, mentioned fights to him or potential fights to him, there's never been a, like you do with, you'll hear, I'm sure you hear plenty of stories, Steve, you'll get plenty or not yet, or maybe another one, or we don't like his style, or maybe in another couple of fights. There's absolutely none of that with senior or junior. They'll box anybody.
How far do you see Junior going?
It's difficult to say, innit? Look, I always say, look, is he the most naturally talented boxer I've ever seen? Then I'd be lying if I said he was. But in terms of work ethic and conditioning, you've got to say that he's right up there, aren't you? So if you turn up for a fight with Eubank Jr., but you're a lot more talented than he is, but you've skipped on 5% of your work, you're gonna have a tough night.
Absolutely. Just to remind our listeners, we've got Richard Poxon on the line. Couple more questions for Richard on this Sunday evening. What about boxing resuming then? The whole COVID-19 situation. What are your thoughts on? I mean, there's so much, really, isn't there? There's a lockdown. There's guys coming back in empty arenas, or people are going to have money to buy tickets. What are your overriding thoughts about the whole situation?
I think at minute, Steve, I think anybody giving an opinion, and I don't mean, sorry, not giving an opinion right way, but making predictions is just trying to talk for the sake of talking, because I think this situation is so unprecedented and so bizarre, and it's so fluid and fast moving that it's impossible to give any kind of guess, even when it could resume, how it could resume. I mean, I was talking to Al the other day, and we're talking, some people are saying about putting on, like you've just said, closed door shows. But it sounds really simplistic. So you take the boxers off to an hotel and they're in quarantine for 12 weeks where they don't mix. So are the trainers. So is everybody works at hotel. So must be the referee. So must be TV production company. So should be the doctors, the board officials, the sanctioning body officials. It sounds simplistic, doesn't it? Just to say, well, everybody goes off and gets quarantined for 12 weeks and then fights. But you're not on about 2 boxers. You're on about a massive amount of people all the way through it. Are the people at the hotel, are they not allowed home when he's finished serving the food or whatever? It's not as simplistic as what I think people would like to believe. So, look, is it possible it can happen? Yeah, of course, anything's possible, but it's not like, I don't see that as a quick band-aid to get shows back up, because you're not just on about taking 2 people area and sticking them away for 10 or 12 weeks. Potentially you're on about dozens and dozens of people.
No, you're right. It is an unprecedented situation. Just moving on then, Larry Olabamiwa, you were talking to him recently. Obviously, he was talking very openly about doping, stating a high percentage of top-level fighters are doping. What were your thoughts on that?
It didn't come as a surprise, to be honest. I mean, look, the number he came out with, I think it's been a bit misrepresented actually, what we said. Because they were like a bit of a pausing conversation when we were saying about how many do you think, and they were a bit of at what level? And so we were saying international or world level, and so to cut through it, I just said, look, even kids of a pay-per-view type standard international. So it weren't. I've seen Eddie's come out with something today. It weren't a British pay-per-view or blanket pay-per-view, but we were saying at that like world title championship standard and above. Larry thought it was 80 to 90%, which I thought were. It shocked me. You can probably tell my reaction on. Sorry, Steve. You probably saw my reaction on video. It shocked me, but I think there's a high percentage. Yeah, I don't think it's. Look, a lot of people, and listen, nobody loves boxing more than me. But just because you love something, don't mean that don't have to look for what's wrong with something. And there's a train of thought, well, if somebody's not getting caught, then they're definitely clean. Well, history tells us that isn't always true, is it?
Well,
in any sport, passing tests don't mean that it's clean, and it don't mean that you should question things. Don't make you a hater. And I think just using the narrative against Larry of, well, he's just bitter because he got busted and he weren't very, he were only at such and such a level, and so he should be dismissed. I think that's a bit ignorant to do that, to be honest, pal. You need to learn. Somebody else put on my social media, what does it matter what Larry thinks? The drugs have moved on so much since when he was doing it that it's irrelevant. But the drugs are always moving on, Steve. The drugs are, they're moving on every 3, 4, 6 months. It's the mentality that I think we need to address, and the mentality that they think that they can get away with it. That's the thing we should be learning from. So I think to dismiss what somebody like Larry said, he's very well educated, he's got a degree in medical chemistry. If we can't take any lessons from his experiences of it, then we're struggling, aren't we? What are we going to listen to?
Yeah, this is what I'm wondering. I mean, how concerned should we be? Obviously, in mentioning no names or anything, you got your ear to the ground. How much is this going on? Do we think, how widespread is it?
Oh, well, look, you don't have to be without, like you said, mentioning any names, you don't have to be a rocket scientist here to work out what a lot of kids are doing or a lot of fellas are doing. It's, you only have to do a little bit of research, don't you? And 2 and 2 will soon become 4. You can, it's an old-fashioned way of doing it, but you can often use the eye test, can't you? If somebody's suddenly looking a lot better, if somebody's suddenly got a lot better, if somebody was on the way out and suddenly they're bang in the middle of things towards the tail end of the career and stuff like that, it's, well, is that, and listen, this is just in boxing, is it? It can be any sport, but it's like kind of, fairy tales don't happen that often, do they? No. And so, why are they happening? And I think, I find this situation that we're in nasty where everybody's announced that they're not testing at the moment. I just find it absolutely ludicrous. I cannot get my head. Look, is it unprecedented times and they can't be testing? I'm sure that's the case, and I agree with that. The case there's bigger medical problems at the moment in the medical issues than testing sportsmen. But to then announce that you're not, I just find incredible, to be honest. Whether it's UCAD, VADA, Clean Boxing Program, whoever it is, I can't get my head round why you would announce it.
Yeah, you think they would just
because
keep
in a sport, well, yeah, what's to announce?
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't say anything. So in a sport where we're worried and got concerns about doping, to suddenly announce that for the foreseeable future, you've got very small chance, even if you are doping, Steve, and if you've got the right people around you and you know what you're doing and you're spending a few quid, you've got a tiny chance of being caught, a really tiny chance of being caught. If you then couple that with you've got a few months where you're definitely not going to get tested, then you've got zero chance of getting caught, haven't you? And some of these things now can cycle through the system so quickly and still get the benefits from it that I just found the announcement from everybody that it were all suspended just really bizarre. Steve, if your burglar alarm weren't working and you'd lost your house key, you wouldn't feel need to go on Facebook, would you, and say, just to let you all know, my alarm's switched off and I can't lock it from the door tonight.
You'd be surprised how many people would do that on Facebook these days.
Maybe, but that's fine. But you won't have to, if you woke up next morning and your TV'd gone.
Yeah.
And we're crying about it. Nobody'd have much sympathy, would they? So it's not just boxing, but I think across all sports, the public announcement of suspending all testing takes some getting my head round.
Is this the biggest problem that's facing us in boxing, do you think, overall? I mean, God knows there's so many of them, but do you think it's the biggest?
No, look, boxing, I always say boxing succeeds in spite of itself, and boxing always will succeed, and it's an absolute crest of the wave at the moment, isn't it? It's doing fantastically. The problems in boxing are historical ones, aren't they? And that's that the fights that we think should be made don't get made, or they don't get made when they're relevant and they should be made. So look, doping's a problem in boxing. Is it a new problem? No, it's just probably that, you know, testing has become a thing in the last few years and become much more prevalent than it ever has been. You know, we can't say who was. You've only got to look at heavyweights 10 or 15 years ago and size of some of them, haven't you? And, you know, I mean, probably both of the first one who got caught, weren't it, that made it kind of newsworthy. And then after that, it's kind of been an avalanche of people, hasn't it?
James Toney and them, yeah.
Yeah, there's been loads. Look, James Toney, Jones,
yeah.
You know, you could go on and on and on and on, couldn't you? But I think, well, the problem with boxing will always be the same problem, that the fights that the fans want, and I class myself as a fan. I'm a fan above everything else. The fights that we want to see when we want to see them, or within a period that we want to see them, they don't happen for whatever reason. I mean, what other sport could you have where in Britain, and I don't believe it happened now anyway, that a fight like Khan and Brook will never happen?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, looking back now, Steve, and like I say, I'm getting on a little bit now, but can you imagine if Bennett had not fought Eubank?
Yeah. And Watson, and they all fought each other, you know, numerous times.
Yeah, but can you imagine if they didn't ever box? If they'd have said, "Oh, I'm not boxing in, and he's not boxing in, and I'm on a different network," or if, you know, Bruno would have refused to box Lewis, or, you know, you go back to a big great domestic fight, or even, well, not just domestic, international and world level, if they just went, no, you know, in any other sport, you can't get, say, using an example, Sheffield United get to final at FA Cup, can you? And I don't know, Chelsea, other team, and Sheffield United, we know, yeah, we're not playing them yet. We're not going to do that one. And that's kind of the problem of boxing, into that you get to what you think's the final, and all of a sudden you don't get the final. And I think for everybody, always round, I may probably don't regret it at the moment, but I think for Khan and Brook never to happen is really sad and a shame.
Yeah.
And that's just one example of, you know, the fights that should happen and we want to see happen, they often don't, more often than not, they don't get made when they're as relevant. And being honest, look, if that fight, using this as an example, if it got made now, would I be that bothered personally to watch it? No, I wouldn't, to be honest now, sadly.
No, I agree with you, but then they're talking about Brook, Liam Smith as an alternative. I really have no interest in that whatsoever.
No, I think, look, Liam's a good fighter, he's strong, but, you know, Kell's made it quite plain in it that he's looking for another payday. He's looking for one last payday, but he's looking for a payday that he's not had with the Khan fight or something similar. Is he going to, what does him against Liam Smith generate in reality? What does he do? So is he going to generate him that type of money that Kell wants? And for Kell, it's a lot of risk and not a great deal of reward, isn't it?
Do you think at this moment Kell will be happy with his career looking back, or do you think that he could have done more?
I don't know how he personally feels. I mean, he's a pal of mine, Kell, but for me, his career's been a big underachievement, I think, from what he could have done. I mean, if you think just when he beat Porter, I think just about when Mayweather retired, weren't it?
Yeah.
And if I'd have been Kell, and I said that, I did actually say this to Kell, I bumped into him somewhere at the time, I said, look, you're a good looking kid, you can punch, you can fight, you can sell tickets. I'd be thinking, who's going to replace Mayweather? And he looked at me sideways, and I went, look, I'm not saying you're going to be Mayweather, but I would be thinking, they need the next welterweight star, who's going to step into that? It's going to be me. But it's, you know, it just didn't happen. He spent a lot of time chasing Khan. I think the Golovkin fight were absolutely nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that were absolutely nuts. I think then coming all the way back down and boxing Spence were absolutely nuts. So I think really from the Golovkin fight onwards, yeah, it's been on what he could have been and could have done. I think it's been a big I think when he maybe looks back, look, I hope he done that. I hope he looks back and he's fully fulfilled and content. But as a fan, I think it's been an underachievement, yeah.
Richard, we thank you for your time. Just final one before we let you go. We ask a lot of our listeners this about the heavyweights. AJ Fury, if they were to fight, who do you think would come out on top?
Oh, dear me. Gosh, why do you think that could be? Talking about things not getting made or being easy to make, that's chuffing. No, that must be top at list of things hard to make, wouldn't it? Who do I think could come out on top in that fight? Look, it's hard. At the moment, it's hard to bet against Tyson with anybody, isn't it? He boxed that well and he fought that well last time against Wilder. But AJ's he's a fantastic athlete. He's big, he's strong, and he can punch. It's a fight that I'd if that got announced, I'd be waiting with bated breath. But as to who'd win it, they've both got the pluses and minuses. You can't rule against. I think before, most fans would have gone, "Oh, AJ will destroy Tyson. AJ will destroy Tyson. He's too big and too strong." Whereas walking Wilder down in the fashion he did, kind of thrown that out a window, hasn't it? So it's a great fight, and it's one I'd probably say is pretty even, to be honest. I think.
But if you had to choose someone, who would you go for?
Oh, I like it. Leave me alone. I like it on fence.
I always fancied Tyson to mess him about, to be honest with you.
I like consensus on fence. I don't like making predictions because usually I bet with my heart and I always end up losing. If I had to bet, if you put a gun to my head and said I've got to pick someone to win, I'd probably go Joshua, just by the tiniest of margins, maybe.
On points?
I don't know. My crystal ball's not that good. I just think, look, he's technically a lot sounder than Wilder was. If you take the couple of fights Tyson had before the Wilder rematch, it weren't fantastic. Where he didn't look great, you can blame motivation or Tyson can be up and down in his mentality towards fights sometimes. And I think Josh is a great athlete, but Tyson's they're both great big fellas, and anything can happen.
Lovely stuff. Thanks for joining us, Richard. Any social media presences you want to make the listeners aware of?
Just to show that we've started doing the Black Eye Barber show. It's on YouTube that myself, Johnny Nelson and Anthony Croller have started doing. It's a bit of light-hearted fun, look at boxing and what's actually going off and the difference between what we're told is going off and what's actually going off. So yeah, if anybody wants to tune in with that would be great.
Excellent stuff, I'm sure they will do. Thanks for joining us and stay safe out there.
No problem. Take care.
All the best. Bye-bye now.
Bye, love. Bye.
There we go, Richard Poxon picking AJ Aussie against Fury. He wasn't getting away without making a prediction there.
Surprised me. Really surprised me. I think, I've always picked Tyson Fury to beat Anthony Joshua. I just think his style is all wrong for him, and I think even more so now after coming off a fantastic performance, it just solidifies the prediction. But I've nothing against people picking Anthony Joshua whatsoever. It's not an absurd pick. Like as I said before, he backed it up and he justified why. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's not just saying, like some people do online, "Oh, I'm picking Joshua because Tyson Fury's a prick." Well, it's not a prediction that you're just saying a name because you don't like the said fighter. But he backed his point up. Who am I to say you're wrong? I disagree with it purely for the fact I think Tyson Fury wins. But then other people will come back and say Anthony Joshua will win. And that is the joy of boxing. I think what we can all agree on is we all want it to happen. And we all want it to happen sooner rather than later. Ideally this year, if not early next year. So that's one thing we can definitely agree on. But predicting a winner, it will always pull up different suggestions.
Yeah, I'd go for Fury myself, but it's not the most outrageous pick in the world, obviously. Joshua's a big guy, can punch, so, anything can happen in the old ring. Andy, in fact, you've got a trivia question for us, I think. Is this for public consumption?
Yeah, I suppose so. For one of the boxing nerds and that, I'll not say what division it is because I might give it away, and I suspect Rob should get this question, or should get the answer to this question. But anyway, so it's for all you brains out there. Who is the only man to beat the same guy? He was world champion at the time. He beat the same guy 3 times in 3 countries over the course of 1 year.
Right, say that again then.
Saul Farah.
Saul Farah.
That was going to be my pick as well, Soul Farah.
No, but we're talking the legit world championship. I'll not mention the weight division because it'll give it away.
Oh, forgive me the weight. You got to give us the weight. I'm lost.
Well, if I give you the weight division, you're going to get the answer straight away. I didn't want you blurting out the answer.
Beat the same guy 3 times in 3 different countries.
Yep. Defending his title.
Defending his title.
In the same year, did you say?
Could it be
Over
a
the course of 1
Mexican
year.
who maybe fought in Mexico? No, I'm lost, man. I'm lost.
You want me to give you a division? It was
Go on,
heavyweight.
give us the division.
The heavyweight division.
Fucking hell.
Max Smelling, surely.
No.
Because Ali had Thriller Manila, but he fought the same guy. Fuck me. I don't know then.
He wasn't the world champion when they beat Frazier the second time.
No, exactly, yeah.
He wasn't champion the first time either.
And it's not the same fucking guy. So I know I'm stuck. Go on, you may tell us.
Waiting for anybody else
So
to
he's
come
a
up with an
world
answer.
champ. So he's a world. Say it again. Sorry, Andy. Say it one more time.
Right, so he was world heavyweight champion, and he beat the same fella 3 times in 3 different countries.
Joe Louis.
Right.
No. Nobody in the chat has got that either. I'm surprised at that.
The Ambling Alp. Do you remember him? Was he world champion? Carnera.
No, it was. I think he was very briefly world champion. Yeah.
There we go. We'll leave that hanging then, shall we? Might as
If you
well.
want, you want the answer at the end of the
Let them have
show.
a think.
Yeah.
Yeah, answer at the end of the show. There you go. Get googling. Get googling, boys, and we'll see if we can get it. Where's Gabe gone? Is he
It
dead?
was.
Or is he still on?
Canero was world champion. He lost to Max Baer.
Oh, right, okay.
I'll tell
I
you
couldn't
what,
remember whether he was just a
AJ
sideshow.
AJ versus Fury, this is how bored I am now. When I started thinking about that one, think about the times that Joshua, outside the Ruiz fight, was in trouble. It was Dillian White, and it was Vladimir Klitschko, and it was the same shot. It was the Kronk catch and shoot taught by Jonathan Banks to both fighters, and it looks like it's a bit of an Achilles heel for AJ, so I would even predict that he gets knocked out with the catch and shoot when that fight happens in February, coming soon.
February.
What about, was he in trouble against Povetkin from memory as well in round?
Yeah.
Was it round 1 or 2?
Yeah.
Broke his
Yeah.
nose.
Yeah.
Bust
Yeah.
his nose. Yeah. Okay, you can let us know at the end of the show then, Andy. Thanks for throwing that in. Actually, while we're talking to you, Andy, quick word for couple of obviously struggling times at the moment. Boxing Monthly are going out of circulation. Also, irisboxing.com, site that is close to my heart. I wrote for it for many a year, and the boys are there. Look like they might have to shut down as well. I mean, don't want to be doom and gloom and all that, but it's looking a bit shit,
awful.
especially for Boxing Monthly.
Yeah, because I subscribed
Boxing
to
Monthly,
that.
man.
Yeah,
Absolute
I used to
institution.
I subscribed to that too. Yeah, it's going to be sad because obviously I like Billy Graham's piece with John Evans in there. John McDonald's doing some good pieces. Burns usually goes on his typical rants. A few American contributors and that as well. I call him Axe Shaw, but X Shaw does the book reviews and stuff. I dare say he won't be missed. Fuck me, man. I don't, unless it's someone he actually is mates with, and that you'd never get a positive review. So you need to be like, say, fucking scholarship type levels a writer to try and get his blessings.
Did he ever review Steve Welling's book?
Can't mind actually. I've never seen Irish Boxing Review on Boxing Monthly.
First,
Too brutal to go to print.
the first issue of Boxing Monthly I ever owned, I had it in 1990, and I had Thomas Hearns on the cover, and I think it might have even been the first edition. So someone, or maybe one of the listeners, can confirm that. Like, and it was brilliant. They used to have the monthly, the centerfold pull-out fighter of the month and all that. Like, I still have loads of them. I have tons of them, posters of Eldrick Taylor and Jorge Paez and all these guys. Rafael Rules and all these characters. So yeah, no, it was a great magazine in its day. Absolutely.
Just going through the questions here, boys. I think you'll be spared my little game for this week. It seems like we've got enough content to get us through to Value of the Weeks. Question for you, Smido, coming from Ross Phillips. He's talking about the potential for a Billy Joe Saunders-Canelo fight. So let's just assume for a second that it will go ahead. Ross is asking you, Smid. Most of us would agree that Billy Joe Saunders doesn't have much of a chance against Canelo. Taking this into consideration, Saunders has to do something pretty amazing to get the win. Do you think, Adam, as a tactic, it would be worth trying that Billy Joe Saunders just goes full on crazy, Tyson Fury Batman mode, Chisora flips some tables, gets his son to punch Alvarez in the balls, mentally breaking Canelo before the fight, go at it, everything in the press conference, Shannon the Cannon Briggs chasing him around Mexico? It might work or not. What do you think, Smid?
I just can't see it working. Like, Canelo is, he's seen a lot of characters, really, hasn't he? He's seen, mad Russian alcoholics, Money Mayweather, I don't know. Is that going to make any difference to Canelo? Like, as I've said before on here, Billy Joe Saunders has got absolutely no chance of beating Canelo, as far as I'm concerned. He can't knock him out, and he can't win on points. So what can he do? Batshit crazy might be a way to go, but is that going to make a difference in the ring, really? Like, have we ever seen Canelo go into a fight wound up and go looking for a big punch, early doors and get caught himself? I don't think we've seen that, have we? And then even if he does, he can take him anyway. So Billy Joe Saunders could weigh a stone more than Canelo on the scales, or even on the night, and he still can't punch hard enough to dent him. So I don't know. And there's the language barrier as well. Even if Canelo spoke English, he wouldn't be able to understand Billy Joe Saunders. So it don't make no difference. I just can't see it making any difference, to be honest with you.
There you go. Thumbs up from Smido. Get on it, he says. Moving on, Ozzy, we'll go to you first, but I'll probably open this up to the panel, to be honest, because we'll have a few questions, answers even thrown in. Joe Kennedy, friend of the pod, shout out to Joe, good guy. Favourite body shot KO, also Ozzy, the best recovery from a body shot knockdown. Now, I definitely have one for number 2, for the best recovery from a body shot knockdown, one that always sticks with me, but I'll leave you guys to see if you can come up with one.
I know what you're
you
saying,
first, Ozzy. Favourite body shot KO, so I'm thinking of a couple here, Ozzy. Ricky Hatton against Jose Luis Castillo comes to mind, and also, what about the man himself, old Rhino, Dave Allen against Lucas Brown?
Yeah, it was a good one, wasn't it?
It was a cracker.
It was, yeah. George Groves to Jamie Cox. That just completely wiped him out in the World Boxing Super Series. That was one from memory. Hatton's got a couple naturally, which were excellent. In terms of other body shots, I hate these questions because you can never think of them on the spot, and then you watch, you think back, and then there's also many, or you'll start watching videos and things. I've got one for a recovery, and it's got to be Darren Barker against Daniel.
Yeah. Yeah, that was mine as well.
It has to be. Yeah. Because he looked down and out, and there was no way of him getting up whatsoever. And he somehow did, and not only that, and went on to win the fight. Trying to think of any other good...
I've got one.
While you think, Ozzy, a couple of things I'll say about the Barker one. First of all, he was like a man possessed that night, wasn't he? Because of his brother, he had his brother's death in his mind. And I'll never forget a guy on the BoxRec forum, I can't remember who it was, on the BoxRec forum the day after said, I can't remember the guy, but he said, I've been involved in boxing for 30 odd years and I've never seen anyone get up from a body shot like that, and that always sticks with me, and I just remember Barker getting up from that Gale body shot. So you're absolutely right, Ozzy.
Yeah, but Gale done absolutely nothing in the round after that, if you go back and watch that fight. But one I don't know if it got mentioned, Steve, but one of the great body shots, and he got up for it, even though he looked like he was done all at sea. Arturo Gatti against Mickey Ward, the ninth round. Yeah. Started the ninth round, I think it was, left hook to the body, and then he went, and you were like, oh fuck, man. It was like punishment, and then there was like obscene amount of punishment, and he took it that night, big style. That left hook was fucking brutal.
What about
boys mentioning that? Yeah.
Another one that I remembered just then. What about Maidana against Amir Khan?
Yeah,
Maidana went down like a sack. He didn't. He looked gone.
It's going to be a good 3 rounds to get back up for it.
He did, yeah. And I mean, look, he went down. I don't think we've ever seen Maidana wince like that before. It was a crisp body shot. Fair play for him getting up, and went on to put in a very good performance, which, was a quality fight, and we touched on that last week. So that was another one.
Golovkin against Moore. Golovkin against Macklin.
Macklin, yeah.
Put him doing like an accordion, man.
Of course, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It wasn't it didn't score the knockout, but that Andre Ward shot against
Kovalev, aye.
That yesterday, that
the first fight?
Ripper. No, the second fight.
Was that the one when he was dragging him across the ring, Smith, and he just changed angles and dug him with a left to the eye? That was a great shot, aye.
He hit him with a right hand up top, and that was like the changing of the fight, really. But then a few seconds later, he hit him with that body shot, and that was it. Kovalev was retreating. Next thing you know, he was sat on the rope eating shots to the balls.
One I'm going to shout out a bit of a niche one. I remember Enzo Maccarinelli. I can't remember whether it was the British or the WBU title on ITV, defending it against a Londoner called Gary Delaney, who I think ended up doing about 10 years for murder or something. And he must have put Delaney down about 5 times from body shots every time, and he kept getting back up all the time. And at the end, I remember him sitting ringside saying, I'm going to go and have a curry and a couple of beers now, I think. So I always remember Gary Delaney there. Was it Gary or was it Mark Delaney? No, I think it was Gary Delaney.
Steve,
anybody else want to throw any in?
I'm going left field. I was there, the best fight I've ever seen live. Tommy Coyle against that Brizuela or whatever his name was. He went down from a couple of right body shots and still managed to win that fight.
I remember Duran landing 2 quality left hooks. What happened? He landed 3 left hooks actually. He landed 2 to the body and landed the third one up top against Davy Moore. Round 6 or 7, I think it was. Fucking fantastic technique.
See, Tommy Coyle to Roberto Duran. What other podcast do you get that on? Come on.
TBA. Lineal. Going lineal here tonight. Smido's still with us. So is Andy Patterson, Ozzy Smith and Rob Kelly. We've lost Gabe. Hopefully we'll find him at some point before the end of the evening. No sign of the Guru. Smido. Where is he? Where's the Guru tonight? Said he was coming on the pod. 100% he said you can... Yeah.
I think the Guru's gone on Porky's Corner tonight. Shout out to Innovation Alloy.
Zumba with Kareem. Oh dear. Shout out to Porky, man. He was raging the other day. Fair play to him. Rapping Rob Kelly's trying to ring me somehow. I'm not sure what's going on there. Not up with his Skype. I think you're trying to call me, Rob.
Fucking phone's going haywire in the storm.
Going all Amir Khan on me here.
The boxing asylum are like the Wu-Tang Clan. We make room for the solo careers, but we're just not sure which one is the old dirty bastard. The fucking Guru goes on before us tonight, man. I seen him. He's on the fucking... I said, what's this, Guru? He's on at fucking 6 o'clock on a Sunday. Holy shit, man. Good luck to him. I actually think he'll do well, man, in the YouTube space if he lets his personality side through. The Guru's a good man. I think he'll do well on the old YouTube.
It just needs a wide lens camera and he's away.
Exactly.
He is, but the bizarre thing is...
He needs an intro. He has no
I've got him one on the iTunes, but the bizarre thing is he's still the owner of the asylum. He's gone rogue against his own team.
We're all getting a bullet on Monday morning.
The thing is, though, Steve, you stopped the dividends getting paid to him, so it's okay.
Fuck's sake.
The Guru will be behind the paywall by the end of May.
I see Ty Booth didn't last long behind the paywall anyway.
I think we're going to all be frigging, I don't know, having cabin fever by the end of May at this rate. But we've got to 10 to 10. I tell you what, we're doing well, somehow. Doing well. Right, anyway, let's move on, shall we? Another question come in from... Who should we go for? Matt Dobson. I think this one is right up your street, Rob. Am I mad, says Matt, in thinking that Deontay Wilder could wreck the cruiserweight division? Sure, he was 215 in the first Fury fight. Usyk would have been too technical for Wilder, but I can see him wrecking the current cruiserweight division. What do you think? Wilder down to cruiserweight? I think we've mentioned this before, haven't we? But can't see it. What do you think, Rob? I don't think Rob's hearing us out there. Is everybody else hearing me? Anybody else want to chime in?
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear. I don't think it'd work. Wilder down at cruiserweight. I think we saw him, when he came in extremely light against Fury in the first fight, and I know he's naturally be against lighter people, but he doesn't look huge, but I tell you what did he come in at? 209, 210, something like that. Trying to shave off another £10 when, I mean, you already look at the size of his legs anyway. They're like 2 twigs. I think it'd be extremely difficult for him, and I think any punch. Look, he has got a chin. It's this myth that he's.
Why would he either? Like, why the fuck would Wilder go to the fucking cruiserweight division? There's no money there. Like, you barely paid to see him knocking over big guys. Like, if it's not against the top person, what the fuck would he be? You know what I mean? Sorry, guys.
No, you're right, Rob. You're right. Yeah, it's the fair point. One, I don't think it'd work from a weight perspective, and two, I just don't think the finances are there. And look, Deontay Wilder's always going to get fights in the heavyweight division, and they're always going to be, decent paydays and things like that. Look, at the end of the day, he doesn't need to fight again, does he? He's earned enough cash now. Money isn't a worry. He just wants to box to win belts and things like that. He's still got a place in the heavyweight division. He's not, small. A small heavyweight, in my opinion. He's massive, and he may well not be, one of the bigger heavyweights, but he hits harder than any of them. So he's always got a place in that division. That's for sure. And I think the cruiserweight move is a non-starter.
Yeah, I think it's just hypothetical. I don't think he actually would. Right, final one before we go on to Value of the Weeks, guys. This is a bit of a long one. Hopefully my throat will hold up. I think I've had this corona for about the last friggin' 6 months. But we'll see how we get on. It's a good point, actually, from Des over at Turtle and Bear. He says, morning, guys. It's the evening, Des. Last week, you were talking about Paulie Malignaggi getting his hair cut during a fight. Got me remembering that card. Craig Watson beat Matthew Hatton. Hatton went on to fight and win an EBU title and even get a shot against Canelo. Watson couldn't get a date. I was also close with Peter Obo, who was starved out for 18 months when British and Commonwealth champion. I remember Frank Maloney giving Matthew Barney his contract back when he beat Dean Francis for the British title. Also, says Des, Scott Dan, the British champion, couldn't get on TV. Philip Bowes, currently Commonwealth champion, friend of Chukru as well, can get a date off TV on a small hall show. The kid he beat twice last year has been out twice on televised shows. You'll be able to mention others, I'm sure, even world champions. My question is, should networks have a duty to show champions? Is it fair you can hold a domestic title and get no work from organisations that claim to have the best interest of the sport at heart? I'd like to know your thoughts. I think that's a good question. And if anybody wants to jump in on that, do the networks have a duty to show champions? Is it fair you can hold a domestic title and get no work from organisations that claim to have the best interest of the sport at heart? Anybody want to chime in, or is it just down to, you don't sell, you're not interesting?
No, yeah. Well, you kind of answered it then. We've seen it previously on Sky, who gets the slots on Sky Facebook, who doesn't get them at all. I think it was it Akib Fiaz or someone like that who was involved in a fight against a Scottish lad on one of the undercards, and it was shown, it was either on Facebook or wasn't on Sky at all, and we saw a couple of prospects on mainstream TV against just knockover jobs, and it was essentially revealed because they weren't in their home area, so hadn't sold a load of tickets. They just didn't get preference. I mean, the best example, and we speak about him all the time, is Dave Allen. Never won a belt. Never won a meaningful fight whatsoever, bar Lucas Brown. Yet he gets countless opportunities all on TV. Yet you'll see, hugely more talented fighters have to graft on the small hole scene and then, take an opportunity and things like that. And you can argue, yeah, Alan may well have, taken the back at, the small side of a deal and things like that. But he's had more opportunities since, and even prior to some fighters. Look, it took Sam Bowen to win a British title in a small hall show to get a TV deal, to even fight on TV. So, look, they talk about the best, and they want to show the best fights. It's bullshit, because we talk about it all the time. 2 evenly matched fights, regardless of the level, from area up to world level, will nigh on produce the goods. But it's not about that. It's about profile, it's about looks, it's about personality, and that is what TV want. That is what promoters want. Competitive fights will always come second when you have got a prospect with an agenda to push. Conor Benn, another one, being a prime example. If he was called Conor Smith, he wouldn't have seen TV, but because he's a Ben, he's had those opportunities. More opportunities than massively more talented people who are still grafting away on ticket deals. And that's that's the way I see it, and sadly, I don't think that will ever change. I think the one thing you can argue that where it may have happened different was on Box Nation, and that's just because they used to wear full shows. They may miss out, a couple, 2 or 3 at the start, but they go live and show like 12 fights. But that was a dedicated boxing show. On BT and Sky, sadly, it's a case of you're either a well thought of prospect, so you're going to get the push, or if you don't sell tickets, you're going to be shoved down a card. You'll get your fight, whoever against, get paid. But in terms of raising that profile, it's not going to happen on TV until the fighter has to change something. TV won't.
Yeah, Des mentioned Peter Obo. He was frozen out by Frank Maloney for about 18 months for the British title, and eventually Obo got a shot or a defence or whatever it was, and he pulled out with like 2 hours to go to spite Maloney and never fought again. Maloney was the worst though, because didn't he keep Jose Alusigan on the shelf as well? Sorry, Smido, go ahead.
Yeah.
You there, Smid?
Oh, sorry, I was just agreeing with Alusigan.
Alright, I thought you were about to throw in some mega points there. We're about to come up to Value of the Week. We usually lose you there, Smido, so just in case, is there anything else you want to add in? Anything you want to get off your chest? A Deirdre moment, perhaps?
Fuck Dillian White, fuck Amir Khan. I could reel off a list of them, really. An IFL, man. I know we discussed it last week, and our content has been carried by other contributors from afar during the week, but today they've put up a compilation of Dillian White and Eddie Hearn in interviews together. So we're talking quite a specific little niche here. I'm just sick of it, mate. Absolutely sick of it. We've got people ripping off Instagram live feeds and putting them out on IFL. I mean, come on, we're scraping the barrel. Just, you don't need to go to those outlets. You can come on, you can speak to myself or Rob Keller or Steve Wellens or Andy Patterson or Ozzie Smith, and we'll give you some fights to watch. We'll give you some recommendations. We'll even send you some links to YouTube. You don't need to be listening to Dillian White and Eddie Hearn compilations when you can go back and you can watch some good fights from yesteryear. That's me done.
Well done, Smido. Thank you very much. Let us move on to Value of the Week, episode 367. Smido is with us for the time being. Rob Kelly's here as well, Ozzie Smith, Andy Patterson, everybody still in the chat, looking good. Hope you're all socially distancing in there, not sitting too close as we move on. Value of the Weeks. First nomination, Eddie Hearn. We're talking about content, putting the content out this week, live Instagram. Terry Harper, Josh Kelly, Cash Farouk, Lewis Ritson. Also, he's dicing with death here, Smido. Amir Khan at 1 o'clock on Instagram, that could have gone badly.
There's still potential for it to go badly at any time. I mean, look, I have said this many times over the year. Who is running Amir Khan's PR, for God's sake? He's just dropping himself in it all the time. It's like a constant theme of his career that he's just saying ridiculous, outlandish stuff all the time. Anyway, move on.
Move on. Fastest hands in the West, old Amir. Can't remember who nominated this, but Ricky Hatton reflects on his fights with Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. That was nominated on Sky Sports. So here we go. Smido tweeting out earlier on, Guru's YouTube debut, 51 seconds of awkward silence before a word was said, far from professional. Paco jumped in. He wasn't too complimentary. Followed by 38 minutes of stories from source Michael Benson. Has to be up there for Value of the Week.
I tell you, it was me on Ricky Hatton, by the way. Will you fucking get a new gig, Ricky? Yeah. Will you? For fuck's sake, man. They roll out that Manny Pacquiao Floyd fucking thing every time he gets interviewed. He's fucking talking about it. Like, even when he was over in Vegas with Wilder. Oh, yeah, well, it just reminds me of the time I was over here versus Manny and Floyd. Shut up, man, will you? For fuck's sake. Gave a good account of yourself in one of them. Got flattened in the other one. Just fucking let it go. Like, your career was better than that. Like, just talk about the... You know what I mean? Fucking hell, man. The Manny and Floyd story again, like, this week on Sky. They're really fucking... Everyone should cancel their Sky subscription based off that. Like, that's pathetic, like.
Here's one for you, Rob. In the chat, Jason268 has just jumped in. I just woke up, for fuck's sake, missed most of this episode.
I fell asleep.
That's one of the best decisions he's made all weekend.
Classic Chuck Crew, man. Oh dear, just waking up just in time. Fell
It's that
asleep.
weapons grade weed he's smoking, you see.
I fell asleep.
I've got a recommendation for Chuckwu. He needs to get on the channel with Tommy Allen. Tommy and Chuckwu. I mean, it's got a bit of a ring to it, really.
Jason and the Guru, yeah. Right, Ryan Garcia has been nominated by Hot Stig, the move counter king. Ryan Garcia says beating Gervonta Davis will turn me into Muhammad Ali.
Is that
Am
a
I
fake
right
account?
then? Yes.
That's a fake account, I'm sure, by the way.
The fake Stig account.
I don't think it
Yeah.
is.
Fuck it is. I'm sure it is.
Actually, do you know what? The more I know he was bathing in tears, and I was caning him, like, deservedly so. And he had a face mask on him there during the week, and he says he doesn't even cry when he gets a migraine. He's a real G, right? I can't see it. But the more he talks about beating up Gervonta, the more I'm warming to him. He did a little Instagram live there demonstration of how he's going to knock out Gervonta in 2 rounds. It was fairly entertaining. Like, so if you go back that up, I'm sure he'd win a few people over. Like,
Well, I was just going to say, I'd be one of them.
Gervonta be bathing in tears then. That night, like.
I would be one of them actually if he could pull that shit off.
Are they
Big
on
time.
opposite TV companies? Them two.
Of course they fucking are.
Yeah, PBC DAZN. Yeah.
So who is actually on PBC for Tank? Anyone at all? I'll take that as a no.
What weight is he at now? I don't know. He'd probably be up at about middleweight by now, I'd say. Given this lockdown. Can you imagine? Flip me. Hopefully he's been socially distancing from AB anyway. I'm not sure, to be honest, off the top of my head, Smid, is the answer. I've forgotten all about boxing now and ratings and stuff. That's so last year, man, being in this lockdown. I haven't been bringing fight news up on a Sunday evening or anything, so I have to get with the times. Here, this is a good one, boys. CBD Addict has nominated Anthony Tony Bellew, being forced to take part in a TV series, sing songs for a viral challenge, and grow a dodgy tash. Well, Tony is back out of self-isolation, and someone has held him at gunpoint to make a life insurance advert. Some great quotables in this, says CBD Addict. Yes, indeed, Tony is now doing a life insurance advert. That's not the last we'll hear of him, actually, on Bellew of the Week, because he's coming up right now, Andy. Meet the 12 celebrity recruits taking on a test like no other on Channel 4. Let's read some of the hashtags. See how many of these you know, actually, Andy, some of these Twitter handles. So we've got @Helen Skelton. Any idea who she is?
No.
She was on
No,
the one.
maybe. I'm not sure. I know about Matt Skelton. And @Joey Essex _. Anybody know who this guy
I
is?
ken that wee dick guy. That's that.
He's that fit twat.
He's that wee Essex wanker with fucking pair of white teeth. Looks like someone's just fucking bleached his teeth or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. @Lawrence Steadman. Lawrence Steedman.
No, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
No.
Here's one from the past. Get the elbows out. John Fashanu 09. I think we all know Big John Fashanu, don't we?
Oh, I remember Justin.
Hey, I don't know. I don't know what Tony Bellew's wife's going to think of John Fashanu and his brother.
Yeah, she's got issues, that one. Well, you know, you get her blessing anyway.
Issues all round. What about @Nikki Sanderson? Anybody know who
No.
Nikki Sanderson is?
No.
No.
Nikki Sanderson. No.
Nikki Sanderson. Nikki. No.
No.
Well, you can find out on Channel 4, SAS WDW, #celeb SAS. Saving the best to last, by the way. @Brendan Cole. Anybody know Brendan Cole?
No.
In either twat or Strictly.
There we go. @Yasmin Evans. Yasmin Evans.
No.
She's
Scrape
off the
people out,
radio.
aren't
He's off the radio.
they? Jack
Yeah, what's
Maynard.
Heard the name.
Oh, he's in hot music.
Yeah, failed musician.
Failed musician. @Locksmith.
No.
Locksmith? No. And Anthea Turner.
Well, I remember her.
That's more my era.
I remember
Come on,
her.
Rob. Anthea Turner.
I bet she was an old pug favourite back in the day, Steve. Eh?
Yeah, she was, man. Making Tracy Island.
Was
She still is for Tommy Allen.
you pulling faces? Steve, was you pulling faces and wiping sweat off your brew at the same time, mate? Eh?
Oh, she was right up there with Carol Vorderman.
You couldn't beat pulling the faces and that you're pulling a wank, like, you couldn't.
Carol still got it.
Oh, Carol has, yeah. She's holding up well.
It's Katie Price
also-
that won that thing.
Just goes to show
I
you
don't
the SAS are real covert operators when they can find Tony Bellew when he just wants to be left alone. You just leave him alone. You're kicking in his door at 6 in the morning, dragging him off to do reality TV. He just wants to be left alone, Anthony Bellew.
Jesus Christ, man. Katie Price is on it as well, Steve, isn't she?
I haven't got a @ handle here, but Andy, but I'm not sure, so I'll take
Yeah,
one
she's
for
on it. Yeah.
That lassie's had more hands up her than the fucking sooty by I'm telling you. I bet he smells like.
Oh, I've got to write that one down.
What's he doing on it? Is Harvey doing it?
Harvey, you can't. No, but I bet her mint smells like a wet. I bet her mint smells like a wet football kit. Hey, let her boy back for a fucking week. Smithers even joking at the smell of it. Oh dearie me, man.
Oh dear! I tell you what, have you seen Bomber in his little jacket? You know, one of those army jumpers that you get with the patches on the shoulders.
Fat, eh?
He looks like he's gonna have to lose a few pounds. I'd say they'll get that weight off him anyway.
Yeah, he's stretching the neck on that fucking jumper I get it on his head anyway. It's that fucking big. Fucking hulked.
Oh yeah, a couple of nominations for the Bomber anyway this week, everybody. Ricky Ellis, he seems to be quite the character turning up on Twitter, this gentleman. When boxing comes back, how about a super pay-per-view for £100 at Eddie Hearn? And now this is his super pay-per-view rundown. Joshua versus Pulev.
Fucking arse and a pledge had £95 for a pay-per-view. You fucking
Well, hang
mug.
on. Andy, hang on. Listen to the lineup first of all before you decide where your hard-earned money's going. Joshua versus Pulev. Not really off to a great start, are we? White versus Povetkin. Hunter versus Gassiev. Usyk versus Chisora. Kelly versus Avanesian. Ben versus S. Vargas. Buatsi versus Johnson. Taylor versus Serrano. Ritson versus O'Hara Davis. And Smith versus Saunders. Started at 3 p.m. Go all day. Trading Leather Boxing says, how about fuck off? People don't want to pay $25, never mind £100.
I'm just yawning at fucking that list getting read out, man. Jesus Christ. Michael Hunter against Murat Gazaev. Who in the fuck actually wants to see that fight? Anybody? Because Gazaev hasn't been seen since he got fucking schooled off fucking Usyk. So we don't know where he's at. Michael Hunter, who's it? He struggled with some fucking fat bastard.
Povetkin.
You know, he couldn't get the job done against him. And he's washed. He's done. He's finished. He couldn't get the job finished there. So, come on. Fucking hell. What a wanker.
Yeah, MB, I don't know who S. Vargas is who he's referring to against Conor
Samuel
Ben, to be honest.
Vargas.
Is it Samuel Vargas? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's supposed to fight we all want to see, isn't it?
Yeah. I was going to say, what a wanker. Of all the fights he can pick, of all the fights he can think on, he picks Conor Ben against S. Vargas. Maggot.
Conor Ben.
Who is he? He's been cropping up on my timeline, actually, this Ricky Ellis. Who is he?
He's a hot take guy, I think. He's a bit like Michael
Samuel
Ben.
Vargas. Samuel Vargas on a fucking pay-per-view for £100. This fella's on fucking LSD or something, man. What the fuck, Samuel Vargas?
I want this cunt to come on this podcast and explain himself.
Nah, we don't like casuals on the podcast.
No, I want.
God.
He wants. I want him to come on and explain himself. Why?
He'd be cannon fodder, dude. He wouldn't last 30 seconds.
Could, but I want him to know. I want to know why he's demanding £100 pay-per-view for a start. Like he's actually requesting it, and then two, I want to know his thoughts behind the fights of Conor Ben, S. Vargas, Murat Gassiev, Michael Hunter. Heading it up with Anthony Joshua against what's it called, Kubrat Pulev. If I'm going to pay £100 for a what's it called, I saw his reaction actually. He basically said Americans pay $80 for one fight, so imagine paying £100 for all of these. So I mean, yeah, I think he should come on. He's got an open invite. We're willing to hear him out, see what he thinks, and then disagree with him.
Somebody else got nominated, but I can't find the tweet now, saying that it shouldn't be £100, it should actually be £200. Oh, I've deleted it by mistake though, so sorry whoever. Yeah.
Oh God.
There you are, begging for it, boys, begging for it.
No wonder Eddie thinks the pay-per-view market's going to be booming if he reads comments off pillocks like that.
Did you get the one for Jack? Did you get the one about Jack Price, Steve? When it said Dillian White's got the best, you got the best chin in heavyweight division.
No, I don't think I got that one.
Yeah, that's what it
Is
says.
that what it was?
Dillian White has got the best chin in the heavyweight division. Fucking hell.
How do you find these people? They seem to find us with them, don't they? My God. I found that one now, actually. It was Arsenal AZR. He said more like £200 plus for that. And Mickey, out of the Capitano, said, "You're off your nut. Why the fuck are you promoting paying additional money to watch boxing? I don't get these clowns." Why would you tweet Eddie and say, "Actually, it should be more, Eddie. I actually want to pay you more"?
You've actually had people fucking tweeting Eddie when you make a card and that, "Just take my money, Eddie, you know, just bend over, take my wife, Eddie," you know. Absolute fucking morons, man.
Oh dear. Yeah, anyway, moving on. Dean Glover, there's Smido, he's off, he's had enough. Dean Glover has nominated Billy Joe Saunders. Hashtag truth about Regency. Billy Joe's trying to get to the bottom of things this week, all over his Twitter. I've got a few Billy Joe nominations coming, actually. I mean, this guy, someone said to me he's like Floyd Mayweather, you know, doing the domestic violence video, whatever it was that we nominated him for last week, and the guy's just an absolute car crash. I mean, how could you even compare him to Floyd? Billy just talks about it, man. Floyd does it, you know what I mean? It's just hashtag levels.
That's what Billy does, mate. You know, we talk about it, but he does it, you know. Just leave him alone, though. Even Eddie.
Mad bastards. Amir Khan has been nominated by Paul Dugan for blaming man-made coronavirus on building of 5G towers. Mikey, we've already read that one out. William Lee has nominated Ryan Garcia again for talking about Gervonta Davis. Also, Taylor Clayton, late nomination here, Aussie. He's been tweeting out to Mick Conlon and Top Rank Boxing, blocking all and sundry. What can we tell you about Taylor, apart from his deep fascination with Priscilla Presley?
Yeah. Well,
and Jenner.
Oh God, we can't forget his true hero, Carl Froch, and he's got a soft spot for Froch's wife as well, hasn't he? Oh, what a clown! Somebody, I can't remember who it was, but robbed his picture and put it as their own profile picture and started telling Michael Conlon to go and shelf stack.
At Asda.
And he's singled out the picture, and this Taylor's seen it and reported him to Top Rank and things like that. So, you know, he should be banned for bullying and stuff.
Cyberbullying, yeah.
Yes, cyberbullying, it's a disgrace, and why is it allowed to happen? But I think it's all been sorted now. But he still deserves his nomination without a doubt.
Absolutely. Any more to throw in there, Ozzy, while you're at it?
No, none from me, no.
Andy, have you got any nominations for us this week, please?
Yeah, I've got one, mate. I've got one for Amir Khan. I don't know if you got that one about his conspiracy theory, saying the coronavirus has been caused deliberately. You know, basically deliberately, it's man-made coronavirus on building of 5G towers and a conspiracy theory. So he's been on this fucking Skype video or Instagram video, whatever it is, and it says people are saying that they're eating bats and snakes and the poison mixed. What bastard? What bullshit is that? Do you believe that? I don't. Coronavirus, you probably get bored of it, but as I am, do you not think it's anything to do with 5G and these towers are going up?
Just the guy you want to go to get your information about COVID-19, Amir Khan. He's going to have to change his nickname to Iron Ike Tyson.
Rob's on fire this week. Thanks, Andy. Any from you, Rob?
No, I just think Billy Joe again. Like, what the fuck is he talking about that for this week after the week he had last week? You just lost your license last week. Shut the fuck up. Look, MTK are here to stay. You can't just single out Billy Joe. Fury was involved in sharing that video that the UK rapper did, kind of pro Kinahan video. MTK are here to stay. We have to accept them that they're part of the sport. But what? It's Harley Edwards and Sonny Edwards and Dean White and Fury and all these guys who are like kind of on a justice for Daniel Kinahan. Like, I think just the less said about it, the better. As professional sports people, nobody wants to hear your opinions on that shit. Like, I have friends that were neutral in that lived in that area, that basically had to fucking live in a war zone and worried about whether they're talking to the wrong person or they're in the wrong place at the wrong time and get caught up in it. Like, so it's a real situation. I don't think sportsmen should be commenting on it, like, especially fellas who didn't live in that vicinity, like, you know, where it was a real life situation. So Billy Joel, man, like the gift that keeps on giving, he just won't shut up, like, and he's going to talk himself into some problems. Like, you can see it happening. He's already done it, like, and it doesn't seem to ever, like Ozzy said last week, he never learns. Like, it doesn't ever seem to deter him. You always get the feeling with Billy Joel that he thinks he knows better than everyone. You know what I mean? And he's kind of smug. And someone actually called him out and saying, why weren't you as vocal? He said it was an attack on boxing, which it was. And but someone said about the ABAs, why didn't you speak on the traveller violence at the ABAs? He said, how do you know they were travellers? And the guys come back and said they're on camera talking about it. And he hasn't said anything. So, you know what I mean? Billy Joel, like, just this fucking thing, isolation is driving him batshit crazy or something, man. He needs to just get off media.
It's like self-sabotage, Rob, it's like self-sabotage with him, isn't it? Every time he seems to be on the cusp of something big, he sabotages himself.
And does he like stirring that up in people? You have to think he does, like, because he just loves to. It seems like he's living off the reactions that he's getting from this, like. No doubt, you know, there'll be an apology here for something else in a couple of weeks. It's just incident after incident. Like, this is the only thing we can talk about in these times is Billy Joe Saunders. Like, at the moment, it's fucking unbelievable. Like, absolutely unbelievable that he do that this week after the week he had last week. Like, where he just doesn't give a shit. Like, what was I going to say? There was a couple of other good ones this week. Bellew was brilliant as well, man. Turning up on the SAS show, like, that is fucking gold. Like, he just cannot stay out of the limelight. He'd be at the opening of a fucking envelope, Tony Bellew. Like, he fucking everywhere loves the limelight. Cannot give it up. Oh man, yeah, Bellew was good as well.
Well said for Rob. For that reason, I am actually going for Bellew this week. He's brilliant, isn't he? He'll be able to show them how to hide out in those Afghan caves or whatever. I might actually, I don't watch TV, but I might actually flick this on just to see what old Tony's up to. So keep me posted on Twitter as and when these episodes are going out. Ozzy, who are you going for this week?
Ricky Ellis.
Oh, him, yeah. Oh, Ricky Ellis, looking for the £100 pay-per-view. We've got 3 then, Andy, all different ones. Who are you going for? You could be the deciding factor, or you could throw in a different one altogether.
I don't really like voting for Bellew for his award and stuff, you know. So I'll go for Ricky Ellis then. You know, fucking Conor Benn, Michael Hunter, or a pay-per-fucking-view. Okay, I know Hunter's already been on pay-per-view, but how dog shit was that undercard? And then you fucking have Andy Ruiz and Joshua fight like they had fucking coronavirus by social distancing each other between the fucking fight and that. You know,
Operation
it's like, what's the fucking point? You know, so yeah, I'll go for that one. Ricky Ellis.
Ricky Ellis, congratulations. You are the Bellew of the Week for episode 367. We've managed to drag it out again for another episode, gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us in the chat, listening at home, what have you. Andy's been with us. Rob Kelly's been with us. Ozzy Smith's been with us. I forgot all about it, Andy. Go ahead.
So did anybody go out in the chat? So this is your last chance.
Was it not Floyd Patterson, no?
No, it wasn't Floyd Patterson. It was Tommy Burns.
Tommy Burns, there you go.
Tommy Burns. He beat Bill Squires 3 times by knockout. Beat him in America and California, beat him again in Paris, then beat him again 6 months later in Sydney. And Rob will fucking hate this one as well, but he actually defended his title in the Theatre Royal in Dublin against a native of yours, Rob, Jem Roach. Wexford
was
lad.
it him who ran to Australia to avoid Jack Johnson, no?
No, Burns drew the colour line. He didn't draw the colour line, he fought black and white people. People hated him for it. He gave Johnson his rightful shot at the title, and he got beat, got knocked out, or got stopped. Actually,
I'm no good on the history, but didn't Johnson have to chase someone around the world for like 2 years to get a shot or something? I can't remember. I thought it was Burns, but I could be wrong, and it could be somebody else. I might be mixing things up here.
Was it no Jeffries? No, I need to check that. I think Jeffries retired.
No, I'm not sure. I'd remember, I think it was from the Jack Johnson book. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, thanks for that. Bit of trivia. I might be throwing in next week, who knows. Rob Kelly's had to drop off. The 5G's got to him. They're burning the masts out in Wexford. So he's been kicked off. Thanks to him for jumping on. Thanks to Ozzy Smith for jumping on as well. Andy Patterson. We also had Martin J. Ward on the call. We had John Ryder on the call. And we had Richard Poxon. Gabe, was here. Amazing contribution from him. Super stuff from Tommy as well. And Adam Smido Smith. I've been Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again for episode 368. Same time, same place next week. Bye.